My motto, fuck lotto. I'll get the 7 digits from your mother for
From your
$1
mother tomorrow.
tomorrow. Everybody from the 313.
Put your motherfucking hands up and follow me. Now
Everybody
everybody
from
from
the
313,
313. Put your motherfucking
put your
heads
fucking
up.
hands up.
Look.
Now while he's saying stuff, notice that this man did not have his hands up.
This free world's got you gassed up. Now who's
Now who's
afraid of the
afraid
big
of the
bad wolf?
big bad wolf?
1, 2, 3, and to the 4.
4. 1 pack, 2 pack, 3 pack, 4.
4 packs, 3 packs, 2 pack, 1. Your pack, he's pack, no packs, none.
Done.
This guy ain't no motherfucking MC.
I know everything he's got to say about me.
I am white. I am a fucking bomb. I do live in a trailer with my mom. I do have a dumb friend named Cheddar Bob who shoots himself in his leg with his own gun.
I did get jumped by all those 6 of you chumps.
Yeah. Wade did fuck my girl. I'm still standing here screaming, fuck the free world. But I know something about you.
About you. You went to Cambrook. That's a private school.
Oh! What's the matter, dog? You embarrassed?
This guy's a gangster. His real name's Clarence.
Clarence's parents have a real good marriage.
Real good marriage.
Oh, God.
Oh, man.
The movie's criminally underrated, man.
That was
8
great,
Mile.
man. Yeah, I mean, incredible ending. Just that whole sequence is incredible. The work that they did, the writing Eminem did in that movie, fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about it is, like, that whole ending sequence is a huge payoff because he's just been eating shit the whole movie.
Yeah.
Just literally eating knees in the face and boots to the face from people. Like, the whole movie.
You know, but my favorite part of that is when he goes like, what is it that he says? He says, fuck, what is it? He's like, these guys don't want a battle. He's shook.
Because there ain't no such thing as halfway crooks.
Yeah.
Scared to death. He's scared to look at his fucking yearbook.
Cranbrook, yeah. Fuck Cranbrook. Yeah, dude, I love that. That's like my favorite part of that. Like when he says that to him, it's like he's scared to look at his fucking yearbook. Fuck Cranbrook. Like there's so much anger in that. And I was thinking about that, man. By the way, listener, this is a cold open. Welcome back.
Yeah. Welcome back, everybody. Like, subscribe, hit that bell icon so you get notified. All that shit, you know.
Leave us a comment. Rate our performance from 1 to 10, our Eminem performance in this cold open.
Yeah. Start a separate savings account that you can give to Patreon once we put it up.
Once we put it up there.
Yeah.
To help us open our studio, our recording studio.
Yeah.
Now I was trying to quote the Beware song, but I couldn't. Fuck Studios. Yeah. I got my own studio, Box Studios, or whatever it is that he says in that song.
You know what song by Death Grips is really dope that I was listening to is Linda's in Custody.
Oh yeah.
That song's really creepy.
I like how they have that little breakdown where it just goes like da 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 Linda's in custody, and it just goes down like that.
Yeah.
It's a cool song, man.
MC Ride's got a weird fascination with the Manson family, that's for sure.
He does, for sure. It's interesting. That album was fascinating because that album they kind of broke away from like some tendencies that they had in that album, and they kind of played a little bit more with like jazzy or like funky sounds.
Yeah.
But also I love like the last track of that album because it's just called Disappointment, and it says Disappointment.
Yeah. I think Flies is probably my favorite off that album. I mean, you know, it's tough because then you got we're talking about Year of the Snitch by Death Grips, everybody. So
2019 album.
Yeah, if you're like totally confused on what we're talking about, Death Grips is a fantastic electronic rap, punk rap group. It's fair to say, I guess. They're hard to describe, but I mean, that's if you had to pigeonhole them, that's how you do it, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like I would describe them as like they're like experimental, industrial, electronic hip hop. You know.
Yeah. They're like a rougher version of JPEG Mafia. Maybe folks, you know. I'm sure someone.
Heard of that guy.
Yeah, I'm sure the average, listener, the average, film music junkie knows one of those two. But anyway, but yeah, You're the Snitch by Death Grips. That was their most recent album. You were just saying something about their album.
Because that album's just fascinating, because they kind of break away a little bit with convention. Because if you detail and to the listener, yes, this has become a Death Grips podcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
It has become a Death Grips podcast. You guys have to now get with the flow, get with the times, folks.
Yeah.
But yeah, because if you break down their discography, it feels like they always have. In a way, you can kind of look at the trajectory of the records, and it feels like they have like a more poppy, accessible record, and then they follow up with like a more abrasive record, because it's like you go from the Money Store to the Powers That Be to Government Plates to the Money Store, which not the Money Store, the Government Plates. Not Government Plates. The Powers That Be, which the Powers That Be, the Powers That Be in itself is 2 albums together. It's a double album.
Yeah.
And then you get Bottomless Pitch, and Bottomless Pitch is like an album for them that people compare to the Money Store, and how it kind of went back to being more poppy and like more like Hulk centric.
Bubbles Buried in This Jungle was in Westworld.
Exactly.
They used
really?
That. Yeah, it's in like season 3, I think.
Yeah. Because it feels like every now and then they make like a more commercial record, which is like okay, because like for instance, like the Powers That Be is not very commercial. It's like really experimental and abrasive. But Bottomless Pit is, and fucking the Money Store is, and I feel like for Year of the Snitch, they were just like, no, we're not gonna do that. This is gonna be another one of like our albums where we're just gonna fuck around with sounds. But yeah, I think for Dilemma has always been like a big favorite of mine on that album. And Flies and Black Paint, because I think one of them goes into the other. Favorite. I think Black Paint goes into Flies, right?
I think you're right.
If not the other way around, and it's I love those 2 songs because how one ends and leads into the other one just makes it like such like a fucking cathartic listening experience for that album.
Yeah. I would say, Streaky's pretty accessible. I would say Streaky's like one of probably the poppiest song on that one, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I agree with that. Yeah,
but you're right. Most of that album's like really chill compared to their other records. It's very like laid back.
Yeah, because I guess like where I was going with this whole thing is that I feel like that's why they ended that song with that disappointment song, because I feel like in their head people were either expecting, another 808, like another fucking The Money Store, or like another Bottomless Pit, or another No Love Deep Web. I feel like I think in their heads people were like, oh, they're expecting us to make like another like Rage album full of bangers, and we're not gonna do that. We're gonna make like an album with weird songs like fucking Linda's in Custody and like Little Richard, and then we're gonna have like maybe a few songs sprinkled in there that are a little bit more like accessible, but they're not gonna be abrasive,
Yeah. The song that I discovered this past week, Birds on Government Plates, I love that song, dude. I can't stop.
Yeah, Birds is great.
Isn't that? I heard that's Robert Pattinson on the guitar too.
I think maybe there might be something like that. I don't know if that was ever confirmed.
I saw a lot of comments about it.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that are like in the liner notes doesn't credit him.
Oh, I gotcha. Yeah, that's a weird song. I like how Ride's voice just becomes kind of like another instrument on that track too. It's pretty dope.
But I feel like that's true, like about that album, because that was like how things that disappointed the fans when the Government Plates came out, and it is that it opens with "You Might Think He Loves You," and that's like obviously like a very abrasive like performance by him. He's like just fucking screaming in that song.
Yeah.
But then every other song after that, it's like, oh, he's in the song, but it's not about him.
Yeah.
Like it's really not about him. Yeah.
Yeah. What was the thing you were going into, Edward? You were going to start us off with.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we got off to tangents as we do.
Yeah.
But something that I wanted to bring up with you, as I know that you love this movie, so I wanted to bring this up with you. Have you heard? And I mean, to the listener, if you know this man Jake and you don't follow him on Letterboxd, don't follow him because you don't have to follow him to believe what I am about to say to be true.
Yeah.
So don't follow to verify whether this is true or not. But one of Jake's favorite films is a movie called The Blind Side
Oh yeah.
with Sandra Bullock.
Fuck no. Yeah, no. Aren't they making like a sequel or something? Something
It,
stupid.
it's not that they're making a sequel. I don't know if they are. But have you heard about the fact that the subject of the movie is suing the filmmakers and
Oh
is
yeah, that's
suing
what I
the
heard.
family?
I think I heard something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, because he's suing them because he's saying that they took advantage of him and that they sold his story and that he never benefited, that they got all the money for it. And
Of
then the movie
course.
made money and he never got any residuals or anything like that.
Of
So
course.
he said that he was just used and how events were presented in the movie in this like fairy tale like way that it wasn't like that.
Yeah, of course it wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. The movie's so dumb, man. I remember my oh my god. I can't do I even bring this up again? Yeah, I do. My this, this old girlfriend that I had was like, "I love this movie. We have to
The
watch it
Blind
together."
Side?
Yeah, and I was like,
The Blind
"Okay."
Side?
I was like, "Okay,
The
it's got
Blind
Sandra."
Side?
Yeah, I was like, "It's got Sandra Bullock in it." I guess it seems well. It's one of those inspirational thingies.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's horrendous. It's so stupid.
It
Uh,
is.
all it is like, oh look, some NRA hardcore Southern conservatives aren't that bad.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah.
It was so obnoxious. Like just as someone who grew up in the South, like
Yeah.
just seeing like the I'm not like, what there's perfectly fine Southerners out there, but there is a lot
Mhm.
of, there's a lot of racism around here as well.
Yeah.
But
But I feel
it's
like
like that everywhere though, I
I
think.
always felt like it was one of those movies like, oh, this is just one of these movies that's supposed to make a specific group and demographic of folks feel good about themselves. So, oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
you know,
I
it's like, oh,
know.
this is one of those movies. I always felt like that movie, The Green Book, is also one of those too. You
Yup.
know, it's like those kind of movies of being like, oh, this is nice, you know, driving Miss Daisy, you know,
Yeah.
we're not that bad.
Yeah. Look at them
Not
getting
that bad.
along.
Yeah, look, we can all get along,
I
you know.
know. Yeah, I know. They're just so dumb. It's like, oh, well, warm and fuzzy. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the concept
No,
on its, at face
no.
value, but yeah, the execution's cringeworthy. I mean, there's a
Yeah.
scene in Blindside I remember where it was one of the few scenes I actually remember where, she's just like, you know what, you better not talk to my boy like that. I'm a member of the NRA and I have a gun in my purse. And I was just like,
Do you?
the credits roll. My girlfriend at the time is just like, did you like it? No, I didn't.
Yeah, I feel like if anything should be taken by your statements is that if a
Is that my
person like
ex-girlfriend's an
yourself,
idiot?
no, 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 no. Don't show this man the blind side. That's what should be taken.
No, well, it wasn't just that. It was that and 1,000 other things
Yeah.
that were said and done.
Yeah. Oh,
I bet
dude.
she listens to every single one of these. Oh my
Oh,
god.
she does.
And if she
Here's
hears
a
this, she's just
shout
proven
out.
my fucking point.
Here's a shout out to you. Here's a shout out to you, listener. If you're listening, when we open that Patreon, make sure to put what 4 or 5 years worth of money in there. We'll appreciate
Yeah. Yeah.
it.
You had a question for me though. What were you gonna ask me as you sip a beer about the blind side?
Let me ask you this, okay? Are you aware of that movie? I think that movie came out like in 2011, something like that. 2009, maybe. Are you aware of the Oscars for that year?
Oh God, no,
Are you aware of the Oscars regarding this movie?
no. Did it win Oscars? I forget.
Yes. So
Holy
now
shit.
the answer is yes. Okay. So now I'm going to ask you which Oscars this movie won, and then you tell me whether it won it or not. Okay.
All right.
Okay. Did this movie win an Oscar for best score?
No, no, I don't think so.
That's correct. Okay. Next question. Did this movie, excuse me, I'm getting all burpy from this fucking beer. Did this movie win an Oscar for cinematography?
No, 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 no.
Okay. Okay, that's right. That's correct. So you have two and zero right now for
Yeah,
Jake.
there's no
Okay.
way it won for either of those.
Did this movie win an Oscar for editing?
Uh, hmm, maybe. Why though? Why this movie? You know,
Look,
it's like
guys,
Baby
I feel like if you
Driver won
look,
Best Editing. That's the most standout thing from recent
yeah,
years that I can remember.
if
It's like that's
you
something that should
rationalize
win.
this, you rationalize these answers, you will get to the right answer. So you
Okay, so
go with your
I would say no. Go with my gut. I gotcha.
yeah, go with your gut.
Yeah, I
So
would say no.
okay, so you're correct. So that's 3 and 0. Okay. Now, did this movie get an Oscar for production design?
Yeah, I could believe that.
Is that your final answer?
No. No. Look at him. He's like helping me out. He's like, you can
Dude,
do it, little buddy.
you know, I meant to send you like this meme. There's like a meme out there of like it's like that guy Regis in like that show, like whatever the show is, like
Regis and
pick the
Kelly.
answer. Huh?
Regis and Kelly?
Yeah, that Regis. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like
The
you
guy's
know
just
that
like,
show where
oh,
he had where he
up next, Andrew Bullock here to talk about The Blindside. It's a great new movie.
but you know that movie that I mean, you know that show where like he sits people down and he asks them questions and he go like, answer one is this is the question, like, what color is, fuck, the sun, and then he goes like yellow, white, green, or blue, and like A is yellow, green is B, A, B, C, or D.
And he would like help them out.
No. I meant to send you like a fucking I meant to send you a thing. Like a minute long video of him asking this guy like the most obvious question. And it was like, dude, that was like the most obvious question. It was like, how many fucking like fuck, who is the president? And it says 2009, and it's Obama as the president. He asked him something like that. And the guy, B is Obama, and then A is Bush, and C is Trump, and D is Bush Senior.
Yeah.
And the guy was like, B, Obama. And the guy was like, final answer? And the guy was like, yeah, final answer. And he was like, are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. Do you feel like you need to talk to the audience? No, I don't feel like I need to talk to the audience. So your final answer is B, Obama. Yes. Are you sure about that? Yes, I'm sure about that. Then it just goes on. Like, it just goes. I was like, this is insane.
Well, and the question was, who was the president in 2009?
Yeah.
Yeah, Obama.
But that wasn't like exactly the question, but it was a question where like if you hear, you're like, oh yeah, that's the most obvious shit. But he was trying to trick that guy into like fucking himself over. And after the guy insists, he's like, yes, the final answer. He goes like, that is correct. B is correct. You've won $2. Next question. He grilled him for $2.
Oh my god! Imagine, imagine
but
being, oh god! Imagine being
but
asked that on national
back
television.
back to the question. Did it win for production design?
Um, it feels like that Family Guy episode where Peter's like saying something and then the chicken fight suddenly happens, and then when he's done with the chicken fight that goes on for like 5 minutes, he comes back and like finishes his sentence.
Yeah.
No, it didn't win for production design. Why?
That is correct.
Yeah,
It did
why?
not win
Yeah,
production
because I'm thinking
design.
about it more, and I'm like, well, not production design, because at first I was thinking about her outfit and shit, but that's not even. Is that production design?
That's wardrobe
That's
and makeup.
wardrobe. Yeah, that's not even the
Yeah.
same thing. I went to film school, everybody. Now you see
Now,
my education.
now, off of your question, when I ask you the last, excuse me, of these kind of more technical questions, did it win for wardrobe and makeup?
It got nominated for sure. I bet because they had to make Sandra Bullock look like some like church going NRA person who like
Yeah. They made her
goes
blonde, right?
shooting after. Yeah, it goes like to target practice after church
Mm.
on the way to brunch.
Yeah.
It got nominated.
Yeah.
I don't know if it won though. Probably not.
Okay.
I don't think
And
this
that
thing won
is
any Oscars.
so that's your final answer. It didn't win wardrobe and makeup.
But yeah, it didn't win.
You are correct.
All
That's
right.
5 out of 0. But now it gets intensive
Okay.
because these are the top of the barrel, right?
Yeah.
These are the hard questions.
Yeah.
Did The Blind Side win for Best Actor?
Win for best actor. Who? The dude? Football
That's
player?
right. That's right.
No. No, there's no way.
Final answer?
Yeah, there's no way.
You are correct. He
Yeah.
did not win for Best Actor.
Of course not. I'm not
No.
crazy. I know. Did he get nominated?
No.
Yeah, of course.
No.
Yeah,
No.
he wasn't all yeah, that wasn't like a standout performance, I didn't think. Thought it was fine.
Did The Blind Side win for Best Original Screenplay?
No. Did it get nominated?
Final answer?
Maybe it got nominated though.
Final answer?
Yeah, that's my final answer.
You, sir, are correct.
Oh man, it's gonna be in so much suspense. I feel like I'm on like a game
7
show.
out of 10.
Out of
Okay, so
10.
right now you
Shit.
passed the test. You got a C going for you.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Did The Blind Side win for Best Director?
No.
Final answer?
Yeah, that's my final answer. No.
Your answer is correct. Now you have a B. You have 8 out of 10 correct.
I feel like this is like just trying to prove that Blindside is like a piece of shit movie by like going through like it didn't win this Oscar and it didn't win that one either.
Now, did The Blind Side win for Best Leading Actress?
I believe that. I'd believe that one.
So your final answer is yes?
It definitely got nominated for that. I bet. Yeah, I'll say it
did
won,
get nominated.
but it didn't win.
You're saying it won. Go with your gut.
What year was this?
2009.
2009.
Yeah.
Yeah, it got nominated, but I'm sure she didn't win that.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
Your final answer is that.
Yeah. You want to talk to the audience?
Okay. The answer is incorrect. Sandra Bullock won for Best Leading Actress for The Blind Side.
Holy shit, dude.
So right now you have 1 wrong, 8 correct. Final question.
So I can get a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, don't go looking this shit up.
I'm not. What do you think? Did you see? Like...
I saw the screen light up.
No, man. No, I'm not gonna. I would never cheat. No. Why would I cheat? I don't give a fuck. Think I care about your game, Edward? I'm not winning any prizes.
This is for the sake of the audience. They're in it with you, dude. You can't be cheating on their behalf.
I'm not, dude. I'm not. I have another tab open with Oppenheimer. I'm making sure I have the plot up because it's a complex movie.
Yeah. Okay. So final question, the 10th question. Did The Blind Side win the Producers Award? better known as Best Picture.
Best Picture? No, it didn't
Mhm.
win Best Picture. There's no fucking way. No
So that's your
fucking.
final.
That's
That's
my
your
final.
final
That's
answer.
my final answer. There's no way.
You, sir, are
Yeah,
correct.
of
It did
course.
not win Best Picture.
There's no way.
Now, was it even nominated for Best Picture?
No. No.
Is that your final answer for the bonus round? That's the bonus round question. Was it even nominated?
I don't know though. Some of the crap that's been nominated for Best Picture, I don't know. I don't know, man. It
I
seems
have an
weird,
extra bonus question after this one.
dude. The Blind Side is like it's such like a conservative feeling movie. I feel like they wouldn't nominate that for Best Picture.
But it did win Best Actress. Keep that in mind. They nominated it for something.
Yeah, I guess that's more of like a person though. I mean, it is
Hmm.
the film. It's an aspect of the film, so I guess it's
Hmm.
not that out of Hollywood. Did American Sniper win stuff at the Oscars, or did it
I
get?
don't think so.
It got
I don't think
snubbed
so.
because that's like
Got snubbed.
it has it's one of those movies that has that conservative kind of feel to it.
But you have to remember that
Conservatives like it.
even though this movie had that conservative feel, you have to remember this movie came out in 2009. You
Yeah,
know, didn't come out in 2016 like American Sniper did.
right.
This is back when Obama had won, and people were feeling real good about themselves. And this is a movie that was about white people being real nice to a black man. So you should take that into
That's
account.
all it was about. So
Well,
funny.
it was a little bit more than that, but that's what people remember that movie
It's
for.
like they were being nice to him. Not really though. There's a part where she's just like they're in a library and she's like, I loved where the wild things are when I was a kid. And she's like,
Yeah.
whatever his name is, Bobby, did your mama read you where the wild things are? And he's
Yeah.
just like, no, I never had a mom. It's like, you knew damn well he didn't have a mom.
Exactly.
Why'd you
Yeah, you're
ask,
torturing this guy. Yeah.
fucking
So
idiot?
it's not even about them being nice to him. It's just about them being around him.
Like Sandra Bullock, look at May. Look at little old May.
Yeah.
Um,
Was it nominated Best Picture?
there's some guy out there who's just like, Jake's a fucking bigot. He doesn't like Southern people. um, uh, yeah, I would say it got nominated.
That is correct.
All right.
So that means that with the bonus question, you've ascended to a 10 out of 10
Hell yeah.
with 10 correct and a wrong question. But I
Hell
have
yeah.
a
Get on my
second,
fucking level.
I have a second and final quiz question for you. All right. And this one's for everything. If you get this one right, you even don't have like a wrong one.
Oh yeah, dude, I already know I'm a genius.
The last one here is how many Oscars did this movie actually get nominated for? I'm gonna give you four options. Did it get nominated for? And you already have a little bit of a semblance of how many it got at least.
Yeah.
Did it get out of those 10 questions, of those 10 categories, did it get nominated for four? Did it get nominated for two? Did it get nominated for six? Or did it get nominated for one?
I'm gonna say 6.
So your final answer is C, six.
Yeah, yeah.
Are you sure about that?
I'm sure. I'm sure.
Do you need to call somebody and ask them if they have the answer?
No, it's 6, man. It's 6. I'm telling you, that seems like the right number to me.
So your final answer is C6.
Yeah, I'm not falling for your tricks, man. It's 6.
That's your final answer.
Yeah, that's it.
Are you sure about that?
dude, 100%, man. Peel back the
You need to
curtain.
ask.
Peel back
to
the
ask the audience.
curtain. Peel back the curtain, big dog.
Okay.
Show me that prize
The-
money. Show me that prize money,
So
Howie.
Jake said C6 final answer. That answer is incorrect.
Ah, fuck.
The answer was B2. It was only Best Actress and Best Picture.
Oh, wow. So they knew what a piece of shit that movie was. Dale knew,
Yeah.
dude.
It had nothing else going for it.
Professor Pollock knew, man. He knew. He was like, I am not Nominating this piece of
Nominate.
shit.
It's garbage. No,
Wouldn't it be
before we move
awesome if
away.
Professor Pollock listened to this?
Oh, that would be great. If you're listening, Professor Pollock, shouts out.
Oh my
Leave a
god.
comment and put money on our Patreon account.
when
Give
it's
us
up.
back that tuition.
Yeah. Damn it, Dale, we paid your salary for 4 years.
But if you look up The Blind Side, not only will it come up like the whole controversy with the movie, but also it will come up that The Blind Side is right now the #1 searched movie on Google for sports movies.
Sports movie? Yeah, I guess he does play a
Yeah,
little
so
bit of football.
everybody's searching this movie up, meaning that we should put that on our description to get the clicks. The
Yeah,
Blind Side.
that's true. That's true. What? That's weird that that's considered a sports movie. I feel like he plays football for like 5 minutes in that movie. No,
I guess it is ultimately.
it's weird. Yeah,
I feel like if
I guess he's in a jersey on the front in his
yeah.
gear.
Yeah, and it's really all about him, like I guess, getting like those opportunities through his skills. But in a way, it's really it truly is just a lifetime movie. This guy
Oh
does
yeah,
it as a sports drama,
totally is, man.
and you and I have experience. We've shot some we've shot some Hallmark movies, some Lifetime films.
Yeah, yeah, man. Oh, we sure did.
Yeah.
Craft services, baby. That
Yeah.
Dunkin' Donuts coffee hits hard at
Yeah.
7 and a 7 a.m. shoot,
Yeah.
but not so hard 3 days later.
But that sir is the conclusion of my my Blindside game.
Dude,
Man.
did you hear that we might be hearing from aliens soon based on the time that these dudes like I guess it was 20 years ago or something like that, they sent out a signal. They like got drunk at a they were like those guys who work for I guess NASA or something, and they sit and they just send signals to aliens all day, or like monitor signals for aliens or something like that. Sounds like a sweet gig, by the way. You just listen to
Yeah, right.
yeah, anything? Nah. 10
No
years
aliens, yeah.
10 years later, still nothing? No. Any bites? But they like got drunk, I guess, and sent a signal out. And by the estimation was by now that signal would have reached like
Mhm.
the star system that they aimed for or something, or whatever
Mhm.
distance they were aiming for.
What's
Dude,
their signal, dude? Is it just a fart?
yeah.
Is the signal a guy going like, wait for it.
Yeah. Yeah, right. No, it was like pictures of humans, I guess, of like what we
Oh,
look
really?
like. Dude, you know what my first thought was like, are you fucking insane? That's a terrible idea. That's
That
like
does sound like a terrible idea.
it's the equivalent of like being I don't know, it's the equivalent of like some, you know, family of mice or something, like field mice in someone's yard being like, "Hey, we're here. Ha
Yeah.
come get us." And then the homeowners are just like, "Ah, get them out of our backyard."
Because the sad thing of this whole thing is that we don't have the Avengers. So if Thanos
Yeah.
or Galactus or something shows up here, we're done for.
Yeah, we're done, man. That's the
I
scariest
mean, we're gonna be
idea ever.
enslaved by aliens.
Yeah, that's like one of the scariest ideas ever, man. They just see us as like as animals, you
Yeah,
know? It's the same
yeah.
thing with the AI, because I was saying the same thing with the AI. It's like, okay, AI gets smarter than you. We're now chimps to the AI. It's like, well, 99% of people don't wake up in the morning unless you're a primatologist or an anthropologist. You don't wake up in the morning and say like, how can I make a chimp's life better today? It's like, no. you know
Right.
it's like you don't think about how to make it worse necessarily either, but it's just like, well, we got some chimp habitat where we're gonna build this, city. Mow it down, boys.
Well, and that's kind of like the dread for me And you know this about me with like existential horror or like galactic horror, shit like that, cosmic horror, whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah, constantly.
That you know that about me, that you know that I've always like really have like I like it triggers me when I see that one fucking image of Cthulhu like just looking at a guy. Because that's what that shit feels like,
He's
man.
like dangling
Like
someone by a thread or something, isn't he?
exactly, yeah. And he's also like dangling another person, and it's just that idea that it's like that there could exist something to which something amoral, like something that just didn't obey this human reasoning that we have, and that just saw us as just like, oh, this is a bunch of ants, they're meaningless.
Yeah.
That's weird, man. The idea of that, especially if it's like something that you're powerless to, like something that we as humans cannot comprehend or interact with. That's like the positive of that movie Arrival. That is like, oh, these are some dumb aliens. They're not gonna hurt us. But you never know, man. You never know what's fucking out there. Because obviously humans are like a horrible species. We're violent
Yeah.
and we conquer places. So it's like I feel like we wouldn't be the nicest aliens to some other fucking alien population.
Oh, hell no. Be like Avatar, man.
Be like, oh, let's take over their shit.
Yeah.
It feels like that's what Elon Musk is already doing.
Oh yeah.
Fucking ass.
Oh yeah. Elon Musk would be the guy. He'd be like, well, the Navi lit like this tree. They have this tree. He'd be giving an interview. He'd be like, oh well, the Navi have the blue people have this tree, and it speaks to them and it means a lot to them, and they have a whole religion around it. And we're going to be mowing it down because we're going to be putting a Tesla factory there, and I really like that spot. So we're just going to be mowing it down. These are the kinds of decisions you have to make when you're the CEO of a company. Wow, Elon, you're so great.
The magnificent Elon.
Yeah.
Fuck that, man. Fuck that. I want to see the newest Avatar movie. Talking about aliens. Like I know that's like a big fucking commitment, and I've already heard that it's not like anything special, but it keeps calling to me. I keep getting called by that movie. The movie's calling to me. The movie's asking me to watch it.
Is it really? I
Yeah, it
keep
is.
forgetting that movie exists. I got to put it on my Letterboxd watch list so I don't like completely. It doesn't get lost to time for me. Yeah.
Because I want to give James Cameron the benefit of the doubt, and obviously for me, when a film is made by like a good filmmaker, and it's somebody who's made stuff that I love, I always want to give them a shot. Even if I only watch a movie for half an hour and I go like, ah, fuck it. But it's like if Tarantino put out any movie, I'll fucking watch that.
It's true.
James Cameron has made The Terminator, which I loved. He made Aliens, which I adore that movie. That movie's amazing. I saw that movie in 70mm film. That was incredible.
Yeah.
To this day, that was one of the greatest like film audience experiences that I've ever had watching that movie in 70mm. Yeah. That was incredible. So that guy's made movies that I really love. I love Titanic.
Yeah.
So I want to give that guy a shot because I want to see if he was able to come up with something, after the fact that because Avatar is a piece of shit movie, the first one, and not only is shit, but it's also like derivative, where it's like the only thing that the movie has to stand on is just like the visuals, and the visuals get worse by the day. We made that movie in 2009, So obviously this movie is going to be way ahead of that one, but also I'm just trying to, in my head, I'm trying to just
make sure
think,
you're not
like,
too far from the mic, bro. Just
yeah, but yeah. Also, I guess I should do that just for your sake, because you're having this recording. Because for my sake, for my fucking computer, me being too close is still problematic. But yeah, so it's one of those things where that movie where it's like, okay, if he made a second one of these, that means that he cannot do what he did in the first one, I think, and he has to come up with new ideas. So part of me is like intrigued. Like I really want to know if he like did something, anything like worth watching in that thing.
Yeah.
Because even for Nolan, who is the man of the hour for this podcast, surprise, surprise, we're talking about Oppenheimer. Not that it's not in the title. But even for Nolan, the only movie of his that I haven't seen at this point is Tenet, and I will see that. Regardless of what anybody has fucking said about that movie, I'm interested because that guy has made a lot of movies that I really love.
Yeah, Dude, Tenet fucking rules, like, from beginning to end. Like, it's good. It's a great movie. I don't know. Maybe people's expectations were really high or something. I put it
Yeah.
off for a long time too. I didn't see it till probably 2 years after it came out. I put it off. I was just like, I don't know about this. Some Chris Nolan, time travel thing that's not even really getting much praise. But I was really pleasantly surprised. I don't know. I'm kind of in the minority of people who thought it was great. I didn't think it was like Oppenheimer Oppenheimer great, but it was good, man. It was good. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm not on like the. I gotta watch. I haven't seen Avatar in so long. I gotta watch the first one again because
I've seen the first one recently.
really, I have.
Like not. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I've never been on that train of hating on Avatar's story. It's just like it's fine, I don't know. It's like relative. It's all relative for me, and it's like okay, in the grand, is it a great story? Is it awe inspiring? No, but relative to a lot of other stuff that comes out of Hollywood, it's perfectly fine. I would say it's like at the baseline. I wouldn't say it's below average.
I have a relationship with that movie where I can clearly remember the day that I heard it be mentioned for the first time.
Yeah.
I was living with my mother at the time, and we were driving. She was driving to work and also to take me to school. And in the news, they were reporting on the radio. They were just talking about how they were like, "Oh, this new movie Avatar
Yeah.
is out. And it's already breaking records." That's my memory of that movie. Just being like, "Oh my God, this is like a record-breaking movie." They were like, "It's on its way to being the best, selling movie of all time," which I think it still is. And if it's not, it's because fucking either Titanic or Endgame took it from it, or Infinity War. And so I remember from that I was like, oh, I have to see this. This sounds amazing. And when I watched Avatar, I was like, oh, geez. Like even then when it came out, I was like, oh,
As a
I was like,
kid,
all right.
when you watched it,
When I watched it, I was like, if I could have rated it when I watched that movie, I would be like, that's like a 6 or a 7.
really,
Like I didn't think it was bad. I just thought that it was okay. Like I wasn't impressed. Like it was cool looking at the movie, but I just felt bored. Like I just felt bored with that movie. And anytime they would cut to like the human scenes, I would be like, oh my God, fucking humans again. Like let me see the blue people. And since growing and never having seen that movie in its entirety again, only seeing it in parts, um, it always decreases in like estimation for me. Like if I were to rate that movie now, I would just give it like a 5.
yeah.
I don't think it's horrible or anything like that. I just think it's like not anything worth diarrhea.
Right.
It's not horrible.
That's an interesting way to describe it.
It's not worth getting up in arms about, but it's also not worth celebrating, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Mm.
You ready to jump forward? Or did you have anything else to say about that?
The Avatar movie?
Yeah.
Oh no. I think that's the end of my tangent for Mr. James Cameron. I do I if I could ask for that guy to do something though, it would be to stop making those movies. It's like, dude, do something else. Like, is this really what you want to dedicate your creativity to? Just fucking the bullshit. Like, make an actual movie again. Cast people and don't make them into blue people. Just make an actual film.
Yeah.
Make an actual movie with practical fucking effects. Like, do something, bro.
Yeah, I agree.
I have a question, or rather, I want to bring something up with you, and I want to hear your take on it. Are you aware of the fact that Mr. Tory Lanez was sentenced?
Oh yeah, you mentioned that last week, didn't you?
Yeah, no, but we didn't get to talk about it. I
Yeah,
think I mentioned
let's
it
go.
before the podcast, and we never covered it.
Yeah, let's get into
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Tory, so for those listening, Mr. Tory Lanez, I'll give like a brief recap. Mr. Tory Lanez was accused of shooting one Megan Thee Stallion on her feet, and for a while, like for like 2 years, it was just hearsay, and that divided camps. There were people who were standing with Megan Thee Stallion and being like, "I believe her," and there were a lot of people I would even go out of my way to say that most people were with Tory Lanez, where they were like, no, he didn't do it. Ain't nothing gonna happen. It's just some. It's just the way people were painting it. It was just like, oh, it's just some woman, saying this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah.
But ultimately, the hash shit came down, and Tory Lanez was sentenced to 10 years.
Oh man, yeah, I know. That's
10 years, dude.
It's a long fucking time, dude. Holy.
That's a long time, dude. The guy's got kids. Those kids, when he goes out, those kids are gonna be gone.
Oh god. Yeah, that's a shame, man. I mean, shit. Yeah, the sentence for the 31-year-old, he's 31, man. So he's gonna miss his entire 30s.
He's gonna be 40. Yeah, he's gonna miss his 30s.
So his 30s are basically just gonna be plucked out. It's like, all right, Tory, you get to live a life, but we're gonna take away your 30s.
Yeah, exactly. Oof, could you imagine that, dude? That's a long time, bro. Because I feel like I feel like for a human adult, like after you pass your teenage years, I feel like your 20s and your 30s are probably the most important years of your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. What did God damn it. It looks like you're using an ad blocker. Yeah, I am.
Of course.
USA Today. Yeah, no, you can't send me notifications. Hang on, let me turn off my ad blocker.
So you can actually read the thing.
Yeah, pause.
That's a pain in the ass. It is a pain in the ass when I go on like Letterboxd or like Rotten Tomatoes, because sometimes I have to like refresh the page multiple times before they give me the option of continuing without disabling.
I know. Again,
does that happen to you too?
Yeah, it happens to me every time. Again, I quote Chuck McGill from Better Call Saul. Why not just skip the whole exercise? Yeah, so the actual shooting, rapper Tory Lanez was found guilty Friday of 3 felonies in 2020 shooting of hip hop star Megan Thee Stallion. That left her wounded with bullet fragments in her feet.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out, like, because I want to figure out, do we think that is a stiff sentence or do we think it's right?
I don't know, man. I actually have not been able to make heads or tails about that.
I mean, what was his motivation? I don't even I don't remember much about that because that happened like years ago now.
Exactly, that happened years ago. Like that happened years ago. I myself don't remember his motivation. I don't recall. Like I think it had, like, from what I understand. This is my recollection of it, and this is hazy. If you listener remember better, then comment and clear this thing up for us and the audience.
Yeah.
But from my memory, I remember that it had something to do with her being jealous or him being jealous of her or something like that. Or like she was throwing something at his face, like she was like kind of like taunting him with some information. And maybe he was jealous or she was jealous because he might have had some kind of involvement with like Kylie Jenner or something like that. It was something along those lines. And he reportedly, just make her like go outside. Like they were in a car and he made the car stop, or he stopped the car. I don't know if he was driving, and he made her get out, and he had his gun out, and he asked her to dance. So basically, he asked her to do one of those like crazy things you see in movies. So he goes like, "Do a little dance," and they shoot at people's feet, and they go like, "Oh,
good fellas, dance,
yeah.
Dance the fucking drink over here."
Yeah. So he made him do that, and in doing that, he shot her feet. That's my understanding of it.
Yeah.
And eventually the police showed up and took her. The ambulance showed up or whatever. And I guess they found that it was conclusive. I guess they were like, yeah, there's conclusive proof that this guy did that shit. Because they put him behind bars for 10 years. Honestly, man, I'm going to go out and just say this. With me recounting that shit, I believe it's right.
Yeah, I agree. You can't be playing around with a gun that could, kill somebody. I mean, that could...
You can't...
You can't just like, here's the thing with guns too, and just the anatomy and stuff. I'm not an expert on this, but from watching, oddly enough, from watching Dexter, I know this. I believe that's where my knowledge is coming from good old Dexter Morgan, and his blood spatter expertise. But people think they could just like, not everybody obviously, but some people like Tory think they could just fuck around and as long as you're not aiming at someone's, face or chest, they'll be fine. It's like,
Yeah.
no, there's major arteries that run throughout the body.
Right.
Like you can nick
Right.
something and they could really bleed out,
Or their bones.
Yeah, like you could shoot if you shoot someone in the leg, it's like it could nick the femoral artery or whatever.
They just bleed out.
Exactly. I mean, it's not something to fuck around with. So yeah, I agree. I mean, 10 years, because I don't think anything. There was the YouTuber Larry Lawton who I like, who he's like a former mafia jewel thief. He did like a lot of heists back in the day, and now he's a security consultant. So
Of course he is.
yeah, because he tells people how to not get robbed. And obviously a YouTuber, big YouTube personality. But
Yeah, he's the one who's on like those things with like Wired, where he talks about that shit, right?
yeah, and he reacts to like movie heists and
Yeah, that's right. That's
GTA
right. I like that
5.
guy.
Yeah,
That's cool.
yeah, he's fun. He's fun. Yeah, great channel. When I started writing my Jockey comic book series, which is a heist, noir, neo noir kind of heist thriller comic book series.
Great little series too.
Oh, thanks, man. I was binging Larry Lawton, just trying to like learn all the stuff that I could put in the comic. But anyway, I remember him saying, he also talks a lot about prison reform and stuff like that because he went to prison. And he was saying something. He made a good point. He said that if it were up to him, any non-violent things would be less than 10 years. You don't need to be
Right.
locking someone up for more than 10 years for like some fraud or like
Right.
theft or just whatever. Sometimes they lock people up for obscene amounts of time.
For especially for non-violent crimes, like you're talking about.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
hey, this was a violent crime, and 10
It
years,
was.
yeah, anything more than 10 years, maybe I'd be like, oh, I don't know, man, that's kind of crazy. But yeah, hey, it's a bad decision to be playing with someone's life like that.
Right. And that's what I think, because it's like it's not only that, man, because it's like you're also like terrorizing this woman that causes like post-traumatic stress disorder, shit like that. You feel humiliated. Who knows how long it would take that woman to get over that shit?
Oh,
But
no.
also the fact that it's like when you get hurt like that, like if somebody shoots you, people experience like pain from that for years.
Yeah.
Even if the wound healed and everything, you could still experience like that pain. Like your body remembers that. Like I sometimes I get pain from a finger that I cut, with a fucking can years ago. Sometimes this finger hurts. So it's like I feel like if you take that into consideration, it's like, oh yeah, of course. Like that guy really did deserve that. Like fuck that guy. And you know that ultimately he's gonna get out of there like early. Because you know that he's gonna be behaving.
Yeah, of course.
He's gonna be holding some dude's packets in there. If you know what I mean. and he's
I
gonna
do from Prison Break. I know what you're talking about.
he's gonna get around, and he's gonna do fine. He's gonna behave, and he's gonna fucking make his bed, and they're probably gonna let him out in 5 years, 6 years. So I feel like the fact that they put him for 10, I feel like that's more than warranted.
Yeah. Also, think of this too. I mean, Megan Thee Stallion, part of her career is dancing. She dances on stage.
She cost them money too.
Fuck up
Yeah.
your feet. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, it's no joke.
So he cost them money, which means that he cost her like time. That ultimately he cost her fucking time. Like if they had sentenced him for 10 years, and on top of that they said, and also for 5 of those 10 years, all your residuals from like Spotify and all this shit is gonna go to this woman. If they had done that on top of that, I would have been like, fine, that's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Do that to him. The same way that I said before that I feel like they should make it so that all of R. Kelly's like fucking money from streaming goes to like, St. Jude's or something, or like cancer research.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think when you get rich like that, again, I mean, we're seeing it with Tate, too.
Yeah.
People like that. I think you get to a point where you feel like you're untouchable because you're rich and you're famous. And
Absolutely.
you've made it, and you just think you can just fuck around all the time. And yeah, you're still, you're not above the law. I mean, you're a couple inches above. above than everyone else, but you're not above it.
Not above it
Or
entirely.
completely above it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Your
yeah,
head's a little slightly higher than other people's, but
yeah.
which is really
It's
is
like,
bullshit, man. Like everything in this country is just run by money. It's like,
yeah,
oh, it's like it's the same thing with healthcare. It's like, oh, a rich guy gets cancer, it's not good, but you have access to the
it's
best
rich.
medical
Yeah,
treatment.
it's like that South Park episode with Magic Johnson where they were like, "What? Why was it that? Well, everybody else was dying from contracting AIDS. Why is it that Magic Johnson is just fine?" And they found out that it's like, oh, it's because he's rich.
Yeah, of course,
Money kept him alive.
of course, man. Of course, of course. Yeah,
Like,
it's
Jesus.
bullshit. And it's the same thing with the legal system. It's like, oh, you get caught, you're some, poor person, you get caught with
Mhm,
weed, 5 years, in prison or something. But
mhm.
some rich guy you get caught with weed, it's like, ugh, $10
And
ticket.
dude, and you know that because I've told you, like, I know I've told you stories of knowing, like, wealthier folks, right? Who've had gotten tickets or have fucking shit like that going on, who've completely gotten away with it, completely, just because of that, of being like, oh, I'm just gonna lawyer up, and my lawyer's gonna figure that out.
Yeah.
Where it's like most people don't have the luxury of that. So it's like, I feel like if you're like a really wealthy, like, rich person in this country, you're ahead of the curve.
Oh yeah, definitely. Make sure the
Everybody else in this country is a chump.
make sure the mic's like in front of your face. You're like pointing away from it, kind of.
Yeah,
Like have it. Yeah, there
yeah.
you go. You sound better there.
I'm telling you, dude, this mic's problematic. Or rather, whatever's going on with us and our current recording setup is making it so that it spikes too much. But I have to remember that this is for you. This is your recording.
Yeah, you're coming in fine.
All right, good.
Do a quick sound check. Check one, two,
A
one.
A A 1 2 A 1 2.
Yeah, that's good.
Show.
You're not
Okay.
spiking.
All right.
On
Yeah.
my end.
Yeah. Because I also in my head I also want to make sure that in case something messes up on your end, you have my thing, and in my thing, my voice is not just in the clouds.
Yeah, breaking the
Yeah.
sound barrier.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean my like one thing that opened my eyes was something my mom told me. We were um my sister had this like school friend when they were kids, and that family was loaded, man, like loaded. I mean,
Mhm.
um what the mom of the household would like, she would fly to California just to get her hair done, shit like
Mhm.
that, just drowning in privilege. Um and there was some sort of like grant they had, basically they had an autistic kid, and there was some sort of grant that was being given for like families that are poor or don't have, you know or struggling or whatever,
Mhm.
um for with autistic kids. And the the dad like had a friend in high places, and they got like a loophole and they got the grant instead
Really?
of like the poor, like some poor person or some single
Oh, that's
mom
right.
with an
No, that's
autistic
right, dude.
kid.
You've told me
Did
about
I tell
that.
you that?
Yeah, yeah, you've told me
So
about
fucked,
that.
dude. It's so fucked up.
Yeah, that's fucked up, man. That's fucked up, bro.
Yeah. I mean, it's a fucked system, man.
Yeah.
It's a fucked system. I've been watching there's a YouTube channel called More Perfect Union. I don't know if
Mhm.
you've seen any of that, but it talks a lot about this stuff, like healthcare, it talks about it's a lot of stuff about, workers' rights, workers striking, things like that. Um
Sounds like a rhyme. Workers' right, workers' strike.
yeah.
Workers'
and
rights.
and um they had a video too. I don't know, there's just some, we're so brainwashed in America, where it's like, there's this whole idea now where they're like, well, the French are striking because that's their culture, it wouldn't work in America. And it's like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, sure it wouldn't. Why
Yeah.
we're just a different species in America, it's like but people eat it up. They're like, yeah, I guess not, I guess it wouldn't. I mean, man, the amount of manipulation that goes on is, it's nuts, man.
Yeah.
It's totally nuts. Um. Anyway, yeah, that was such bull. That situations like that are such bullshit.
Yeah.
it's like turning into I don't know. It's turning into a cyberpunk hell, man. I mean, it's like we're already at RoboCop. We're not quite at Blade Runner yet, but we're in RoboCop territory.
Yeah, I think we are. I think you're right about that. Like, obviously, we're not having fucking robot police officers out there, but I think you're right when you say that. I think you're right. I think we're kind of in that gravitational area
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, because we're just in a situation like, and we talked about this on a previous podcast, but I think it was one of the episodes that didn't get released. I guess it's worth saying a few words on again, but it's like my whole thing with it is the problem is everyone just sees it so black and white now, where it's like anyone, like someone on the some right winger might hear me saying something like this, and they're like, "Oh, you damn socialist, get out of America if you don't like it, you hate capitalism." It's like, no, capitalism is, as far as I can tell, as a layman, like it's the best system. It's how we get cool shit. It's how we're doing a podcast right now with no technology.
Right.
It's like, it's a free market is great, but the way I look at it is it's like a hockey game, where it's like, okay, on one team you have team corporation, and team 2 is team employee slash consumer. And the problem, and then the referee is the government. And we can all agree in a fair game, you need a referee, right? And the problem is the referee has just been paid off by team corporation. He's been paid to turn a blind eye, or voted, to have, less, say over the game in the game. And we're just getting pummeled by team corporation, where it's like, eye pokes, groin shots, getting hit with the stick, whatever. I don't know much about hockey. And it's like, oh, what? You hate hockey? It's like, no, I don't hate hockey. I want the ref to do his fucking job.
Your Andrew Tate voice is coming out there a little bit. He's like, oh, what?
What? Yeah. What, vape juice? You want a vape? No. Just go to the gym. Don't listen to music. Just listen to me. Listen to me and Tristan. We've got the answers.
Yeah, that was a wacky shit for those guys when they were like, "Oh, we don't listen to music." It's like, what? You guys don't do what? What?
That's it. Yeah.
What are you saying?
I was thinking about that the other day, and that's all.
Fucking loonies, man.
Yeah, and I think that analogy about with the capitalism shit is all I really need to say to make that point. It's like, again, just to reiterate, it's like, I don't hate capitalism. I don't hate the game. I hate that it's, from what I can see, you've got a fucking problem when people aren't making enough money to afford housing, or they're making just enough money to just barely scrape by, and they have no quality of life. It's fucking ridiculous. And that's the thing, right? Like, if I'm in an MMA fight and my opponent cheats and I get pissed about it, I don't hate the sport of mixed martial arts. It's like, no, I'm just mad that the referee is like not doing anything.
Yeah, right. The
game's
game's
rigged.
Yeah.
But yeah, switching gears to the Tate thing too. It's like the fucking what Edward and I are referencing. Tristan Tate, Andrew Tate's, nobody fucking dumbass, zero charisma brother.
But it has to be said that it surprises me that Andrew's the one that because Andrew Tate, like, his brother is like a better face than him.
Yeah,
he actually has hair. He's not bald.
Yeah,
but his brother is like an idiot. It's like
his brother doesn't like wear indoor sunglasses. His brother's not as much of a dork.
So it's like somehow with those guys, and I'm sorry to interrupt you. We'll get back to that point. But it's funny because somehow those two guys, they got like they're a pair. Obviously, they're together all the time. They're going to jail together. They're going to be bunkmates. They're going to be sharing a toilet. But it's funny because those guys, I mean, I assume, obviously I don't know.
Yeah.
But those guys, it's like one got one hand and then the other got the other hand, and together they were a full hand. It's like, or together they were like a hand shaking the other hand. because Andrew got like all the charisma, and all the I'm gonna be, I'm gonna get in front of a microphone and just shit out of my ass, and people are gonna buy into that.
Yeah.
But then his brother, it's like, oh, he's better looking than him, and he has hair.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to touch on that in a second, but just so we can close the music tangent out. The thing that Edward and I are referencing is that Tristan Tate, a few weeks ago or a month ago now, like he tweeted basically, the tweet said something to the effect of, it was like, the older I get, the more I think that people who love music are just stupid. Music is dumb. He was just like, people who think music is powerful are some of the dumbest people ever. And I'm like, what? Okay, so music's dumb, but yeah, it's a what? So music's dumb. Music's dumb, but your show where you and your brother, who wears indoor sunglasses, are talking about supercars is what we should all just be listening to all the time. Give me a fucking break.
Yeah.
It's like, look, I'm all for self-development, but part of self-development is like they scrape the surface of self-development where it's like, better yourself, go to the gym,
Wipe your ass after you poop.
yeah, get chicks, get supercars, smoke cigars. It's like, okay, yeah, I get it. Like,
Yeah.
fucking work out, that's good. Get your finances in order, that's good. But it's like self-development is about introspection, and it's like you're never going to get past this sort of with the Tates. It's like you're never going to get, let's just assume they were good dudes who weren't human traffickers and misogynists, and all they were just some harmless dumb show where they were just talking about supercars and stuff. It's like, let's assume that was the case. It's like you're only going to get so far in your self-development like journey with something like that.
Yeah.
Art is actually very helpful, I think, in self-development, which I do want to come back to that. But the thing, what's funny too, what you're saying about Andrew Tate, it's fuck, what were you saying? You were saying that Andrew Tate just gets on camera, shits out of his ass.
Yeah, just out of his ass, and people buy into it.
Yeah, well, people like, you know why Andrew got so popular though? It's because Andrew is a bigger asshole.
Yeah.
And I think that's the sad thing, because I wanted to bring this up. I had this in my notes. Sam Harris, anyone who doesn't know who Sam Harris is, he's basically a neuroscientist and philosopher. He's got a couple books out. He's been on Bill Maher's show a couple, not a couple, like several times. Yeah, he's been on Rogan's show, Lex Friedman. He's made the rounds. He's had a lot of debates with Jordan Peterson, where he completely outclassed Jordan Peterson, by the way. Oh yeah, I remember this video that you just sent me. Excuse me. What was I going to say? Sam Harris. Yeah. So Sam Harris, he completely outclasses Jordan Peterson. He's an actual. I find Sam Harris to be actually very intelligent, well spoken. And
Jordan Peterson.
Yeah, Jordan Peterson. Trans people aren't real.
Oh god.
But again, it's like, it's sad that Jordan Peterson got more popular than Sam Harris and has more of a cult following. It's like Sam Harris is an incredibly well-spoken and very intelligent guy. I mean, the way he articulates things on his own podcast is beyond impressive. And he just came out with a podcast, which he came out with he released a 10-minute clip on YouTube, and then the rest, to get it, you don't even have to spend money. It's like you have to subscribe to his podcast on his site, which I'm actually going to do because I want to hear the rest of the podcast, because
that's what this podcast will eventually become.
Yeah. But the name of this episode was A Golden Age for Assholes. And like the thumbnail of the podcast was like Tate, Trump, and Elon Musk like faces like superimposed. And he talked about how, he finds it real. And I was so happy that somebody finally said it. I feel like you and I have touched on it quite a bit, but he was talking about how, and I meant to jot down some quotes from the episode before the podcast, and I didn't do it, but he was talking about how the sad thing is that people like Tate, people like Trump, their followers don't like them in spite of the fact that they're assholes, but because they're assholes.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
It's like
absolutely.
they
100%.
like them because they're assholes. It's like,
yeah,
it's just this. There's something about that, I guess, where people band together and they see someone being unapologetically themselves, and it's like no matter how far they go, they're, I don't know, people just see it as brave or courageous or whatever.
yeah. And
And
go ahead, finish your point.
yeah, just to finish my point, like, he said, one of the best, the part where he really hit it home, I thought, was when he said, it's like anything you say about Trump, the response is, so what? Like Trump, had ties to organized crime. So what? It's like Trump, pushed people out of their homes, families out of their homes. So what? It's really sad, man.
Yeah. I think what you're saying is correct, and I agree with it, because it's something that I feel like it just drives people to maybe lose perspective a little bit, because it feels kind of like a slippery slope um, um, situation where it's like, oh, when you start excusing someone's behavior, when does it stop, and where do you set the line? Because I agree to an extent with, or rather, not that I agree, but I can see to an extent feeling that way and feeling like that's admirable. What I mean by that is just seeing somebody like Tate and being like, oh, this guy's just saying whatever he wants, doing whatever he wants. I can obviously see that as like an admirable thing, or like that's something worth, or not worth, but something that could be enticing. And looking at that kind of lifestyle and being like, yeah, I want to be like that. Obviously, like, I think most people could probably see the appeal in that. I can see the appeal in that because I've fallen. I am not. I am guilty of that. Is what I'm trying to say. I'm not. I'm not like a fireproof person. I feel like I've been guilty in the past of not necessarily like admiring people for that, but just like blindly having admirations for folks. And that maybe leading you or me or whoever to make excuses on those people's behalves.
Yeah.
I've been guilty of that in the past, and I've obviously been guilty of that when it comes to like fucking musicians or filmmakers that I like, of fucking apologizing for people, or just like blindly liking them, or looking at their lifestyle and being like, oh, that's great, I want to aspire to that. And I feel like the thing for that is, that it really does lead to like a slippery slope, and it takes maturity to get out of that, because that's why I feel like these guys take so much advantage of the crowd that listens to them, and a lot of the people who listen to them are just fucking like teenagers, or and even the ones that are not teenagers are kind of dumbasses,
they're immature.
Because obviously there's like actual grown men who listen to those guys, and whoever those guys are, they're really immature. They have a lot of growing to do, because it's like I feel like there must be a stage in a person's development during which, to quote Stefan from Death Grips, you look inside for inspiration. You think to yourself, like, what's the best version of myself? And not look at somebody like fucking bold ass Tate and go like, oh, this guy's gonna teach me how to live, because nobody really has the answers, man. Especially if we get aliens on this planet, we're gonna get enslaved by aliens, and then truly
none of it matters.
Then truly none of it matters, and nobody has the answers.
Yeah.
So it's weird, man. But it's like with the thing with Jordan Peterson, where he was like crying on television, people made fun of him. I still understood why he was crying, because it was like, oh, this guy's crying because he understands. And obviously, Jordan Peterson is somebody who's fallen from grace, because there was a point in time in which you could actually listen to that guy.
Yeah.
But when he was crying on live television,
it's so hard to talk about.
I can't even say that with a straight face.
Talk to
The guy's a fucking
bird.
clown, man. The guy's a clown. But referencing him, I understand why he was crying because it's like you feel bad when you know or when you have the knowledge, right? That there's just young people out there that are lost, and that because and I feel that, or rather, like I can understand that because it's like, oh, if you think about it in a way, you're like, oh, these are people who are struggling for an identity, fatherless generations trying to fucking grasp onto something.
Yeah.
And when they look at the art that's reflecting back at them from society is just making fun of them. So you can look at something like that and be like, oh man, that makes me feel a certain way.
Yeah.
Not enough to fucking cry on live television, but enough to understand that it's like a lot of these things that are born from Tate, Trump, Musk, you name it, are just a lot, just insecure and mature people, mostly men, obviously, insecure and immature
Yeah.
men.
Yeah. 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 No, you made some great points, and to add on to it, like, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the whole thing of, the whole like being drawn to assholes thing. Again, I agree. Like, I understand the
Hmm.
appeal of the asshole, like,
Right.
because I'm someone who, you could see it. Like, remember, remember Scarface?
Do you remember Star Wars?
But seriously, like, Scarface, that was, people, ever since Scarface came out, people have been worshiping Tony Montana, where it's like
Right.
rappers worship him.
Right.
There was something I saw, I think it was Bill Maher's show, or
People,
maybe
people
Trevor
fucking worship
Noah.
Pablo Escobar.
Yeah, where you see, I think Trevor Noah had a clip. I forget what it was, but it was some police chief talking in his office, and he was like, the subject of some kind of scandal or police violence, of course. And in the
Hmm.
background was a Scarface poster, and it's like, why does a fucking cop have a Scarface Tony Montana quote in the background? And it's one of those things where it's like, okay, guys, I get that, again, like, a lot of times villains, particularly, like, because there's unlikable villains in movies. Like, I don't think anybody really wants to be that fucker in Titanic, that villain.
No.
But
No.
there's villains who, like Tony Montana, right? Or like,
I
who
mean, people
have these
just as of
admirable
recent,
qualities.
yeah, yeah, just as of recent, people were like fucking idolizing the Killmonger character from the Black Panther movie.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Mm.
Um, Hannibal Lecter is another good example where it's like, hey,
Hmm.
he's charismatic, he's a genius. It's like a lot of these villains, and they have that edge to them that makes them cool, cooler than the protagonist a lot of times. And it's like, look, of course, Tony Montana, right? At just using the Scarface example, it's like he had admirable qualities. He was charismatic, he was intelligent, he was, excuse me, ambitious. But at the end of the day, the guy was a piece of shit. Like, Tony
Right.
Montana's a piece of shit.
Right.
He is a villainous protagonist.
Right.
He sure, he has his limits. Like, he doesn't kill the kids in that scene, but dude, he shot so many people in that movie. He killed so many people where, like, he just didn't bat an eye.
Right.
He was not a sympathetic
Right.
character.
But
Or
no,
not.
no, go
Well, he
ahead.
was sympathetic, but he wasn't. He was a piece of shit. He's a piece of garbage. I don't know how else
Hmm.
to say it. And it's
Hmm.
like, all right, let's not take it too far. Like, you got to be careful with idolizing the, real or fictional, these
Hmm.
assholes. And again, you see it with Trump or Tate, where it's like, yeah, they're rich, they're braggadocious, they're, charismatic, all these things. But at the end of the day, it's like, but yeah, but they're fucking goofballs, and they're assholes, you know?
Hmm.
So it's like, and there's plenty of people out there who have all these admirable qualities that aren't pieces of shit. And people
Right.
don't gravitate toward those. And that's
Right.
what's sad about it. It's I feel like we don't know. I feel like it's hard to think about of like billionaires who aren't assholes, because they aren't popular. You know, um, it's super interesting. I mean, an example from me from recent times was Lalo from Better Call Saul. Like, I love that character. That character's awesome. You know,
Exactly. Yeah.
he's a great
That's
villain. You know,
that's the thing that I was gonna say to you too.
yeah, I even like, you know, he even had a cool hairstyle in an episode, and that's why I grew my hair out longer, because I was like, I think I could look good in that, you know. But
Right.
like trying to, but at the end of the day, it's like I understand. Yeah, he's also a, you know, yes, he's a cool, charismatic guy, right? He drives a cool car, right? Like he's, you know, all of these things. He's athletic, but he's also a fucking murderous cartel psychopath. You know, it's like you
Exactly. Yeah.
take the good but leave the bad. And if he were a real life figure, I'd be like, lock him the fuck up now. I wouldn't.
Right.
Be,
Exactly. Like
I
this
wouldn't
guy's
be,
gotta go.
yeah, it's like I wouldn't
Yeah.
be hero worshiping him.
Right.
But there's like a weird cognitive dissonance there, man.
But that's what I was gonna say too. That it's like I feel like media is more and more, you know, reflecting that in society. You know, because we
Yeah.
have like the rise of these like anti-hero movies. You know, the rise of basically R-rated superhero movies.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
true, dude.
characters like Lalo, even characters like fucking Walter White. You know,
Yeah, it's true.
characters in anime like Light from Death Note. You know, we've had so many of these asshole characters, and it feels like they're just becoming more and more and more and more abundant as time goes.
Yeah,
Because I
that's
feel
a
like
good
the
point.
art that we're making right now is reflecting the fact that people are really fucking fascinated by these guys, these characters. You know, male or female. You know, doesn't matter. People are just really fucking interested in them. You know.
Yeah.
Because I know that people also liked like there's a version of this character in that movie Doctor Strange, not Doctor Strange, Doctor that like movie that the Shining movie, Doctor
Dr.
Sleep.
Sleep.
Yeah, that people felt that way about like the female like antagonist in that film. They was like, I like this character, you know, but it's like, oh, but this person's eating children.
Yeah. But she's hot, bro.
Exactly. Get over yourself, bro.
She's hot, man.
Yeah.
Rose the Hat. She was hot.
Yep.
But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Speaking of media too, I wanted to touch on this, man. There's something really fucking weird and creepy going on in marketing these days. I took a screenshot the other day on my Snapchat. Because you know how like Snapchat, right? You go to the stories page, and all it is now, it's like there's this tiny little section at the top with all your friends, and then there's this freaking wall, like Great Wall of China, of ads and shit, just like covering the entire page.
Yeah.
And let me see, where is it? I took a screenshot of it, and because I was really pissed off. It was two things that were side by side. It was one, and I couldn't believe that they were side by side. I'm like, this is so weird. And it's like, this is like perfect. The perfect storm to just make me angry right now.
Mm-hmm.
So side by side, the first one, some outlet called 17, which is even weirder. And it's a picture of Millie Bobby Brown. And it says, the article title is, quote, "What you missed about Millie's bikini pic, eye emojis."
That's amazing.
And then the second one, Movie Club, is a picture of Jenna Ortega. And it says, before Wednesday, she was in this dirty scene, with like a gasping emoji.
Is it that movie X or whatever?
Probably. And I'm like, I took a screenshot of it because I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? Like both of these girls, I had to look up their ages. They're both like 19.
19 or 20, right?
And they were famous before they were 18.
Yes.
And I just got fucking angry about it. And especially because I'm also watching Stranger Things right now. I'm on like season 3.
And she's like a kid in that show.
She's a little kid, and not a little kid, but a freaking teen.
No, dude, these
teenager.
creeps are always just waiting.
Yeah, and it's like you're Yeah, you're fucking marketing to these creeps. It's like, I get it. I get it. They're over 18, right? But they're still fucking. I mean, I'm pretty sure Jenna Ortega is 19. I know Millie Bobby Brown's 19. I had to look it up because I was like, what is going on? Is she? I had to do a double take. Like, I was like, is she of age? Why are they talking about her in bikini pics? Like, what is going on? Like Tucker Carlson right now. What is going on? Jenna Ortega's 20. I mean, and it's just like, dude, there are plenty. I get it. Sex sells, talking about hot actresses and stuff. I get it, right? But there are plenty of older actresses in their late 20s, in their 30s, and beyond who are beautiful, and you could talk about them. Like, stop creeping on these young women, man. It's so weird. And I looked up, I saw two, because I went down the rabbit hole with it, where I'm like, what is this, like a thing that people are just creeping on these two young actresses? And it is.
And not just them.
There was a countdown. There was like a Reddit page that was like a countdown to Millie Bobby Brown turning 18.
And they didn't shut that shit down.
Dude, that's disgusting. It's just, again though, it's really reflective of we live in a society. It's really reflective of what's going on in society right now, man.
We live in a society, dude.
We're just becoming degenerates, man.
True.
It's so shameless. It's like, dude, I get it. Like, legally speaking, it's like, okay, yeah, Millie Bobby Brown's 19. It's like, dude, you're putting out articles about a 19-year-old's bikini pictures. Like, what are you fucking doing, man?
Dude.
So creepy. I don't know. It's infuriating, dude.
But it's interesting, though, because you have to remember that shit like this has always been going on.
Yeah.
You know? As long as the internet's been around, shit like this has always been going on. Because I feel like when we were kids, I feel like people were doing that about like those like High School Musical kids, you know, or like Hannah Montana and like all these Disney actresses, you know, fucking. Because you have to remember that Harmony Korine took advantage of that, and that's something that interested people when he made that movie Spring Breakers that has, you know, like Selena Gomez and like all these like odd ex Disney girls. And in the movie poster, they're all like in bikinis, you know, and you're like, oh, I gotta see this movie because all these girls are 18, 19 now. So let me get out there and see what's going on. It's like you're saying, there's like this perversion of like, youth. Yeah. Where it's like, oh, you know, like people just fetishize these young girls in these shows and these movies, and it's like, oh, we have to do something. Like all these creeps, and now the internet has made it so that all these creeps have places to gather and fucking prey on fucking people, man. That's the thing that I hate the most about human beings and about the internet, that it has just provided people the ability to be creeps, you know, without having to leave their houses.
Yeah.
Before people had to go outside. Before people had to be like, I have to go out. Exactly. Before it was like, oh, I'm gonna go out in the middle of the night and I'm gonna meet with my fucking degenerate buddies, and everybody had to look at each other's faces. And now you don't even have to do that. Now you can just be in a forum on Reddit. And that's disgusting, man.
Yeah.
Like that. Nothing disgusts me more than shit like that, because it's like, okay, bros, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, you know.
It's disheartening for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I think what really, I mean, the whole thing about Reddit counting down to her 18th birthday and shit, of course, that's like, that's disgusting. I mean,
that's messed up, man.
But again, it's like, it's par for the course. It's like, yeah, fucking creeps online, I guess. What do you expect? But the fact that there's these big media outlets that are showing up on the front page of our Snapchat, just asking me to click on, you know, things like that. I don't know, man. It's like, who are you marketing this to? Are you really, look me in the eye and tell me that you're marketing this article about Millie Bobby Brown's bikini pictures to an 18-year-old girl? Look me in the eye and tell me that, because you're fucking not. You're marketing it to fucking weirdos, man.
You're marketing it to weirdos, absolutely. They're marketing it to fucking freaks. People who fucking freaks.
Yeah,
you know,
creeps,
stalkers. Just like people who've been like creeping on these people since they saw them like they might not have even seen the fucking show. They might have just seen those people like on the news or something and be like, I'm gonna be a stalker to this person
Ugh.
now.
Ugh.
You know, isn't that fucking weird?
Yeah.
Big Sean's dealing with that. Apparently,
Is
because
he?
he's like married or in a relationship with this actress singer called Janae Aiko or something like that, and she's dealing with that, and he's dealing with it adjacently because she's like I saw the news today that she like was saying that she was like afraid for her life because they have like a stalker that keeps showing up to all her shows and that has shown up to their house multiple
Holy
times.
shit.
Imagine that.
Where
I
do
don't
these
know,
where do these
dude.
people
I don't.
come from, bro?
But also the thing with me is that because people a lot of the time you have to remember that it's not that we live necessarily in a society, but we live in a world, you know,
Yeah.
with 8 billion plus people.
Yeah.
That's a bigger number than most people can fathom. 8 million, you know. So we have to understand that within those 8 million, whether we like it or not, there's gonna be a lot of bad people. Like a lot. 8 billion is a big number.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a lot of bad people and a lot of degenerates and a lot of people who are degenerates or bad without just because they were born that way or their brain chemistry, or some deficiency. There's creeps and bad people and degenerates that made themselves be that way, So
Yeah.
we have to remember that. I feel like people sometimes like convince themselves. Maybe I'm just always aware of these things because of the kind of shit that I do for a living, but
Yeah.
I feel like people convince themselves that this is like
A warm,
some nice
fuzzy
planet,
place. Yeah.
or it's just because they happen to live in a nice neighborhood and a nice place, and it's like this is not what this fucking place is. This is a planet full of fucking animals, and full of humans that are not goody two shoes. You know, I give the benefit of the doubt to most people, but not to all people. Um, and that's the thing, man, because it's like and what I'm trying to say is like with these actresses and these people, obviously they're committing to a life that's putting them out in front of the world, that's marketing them because they are part of projects, Disney projects or whatever that need to make money. So they market the fuck out of these kids. They make them go on night shows with all their little other kid co-stars and do awkward interviews with fucking Jimmy Fallon's dumbass.
Yeah.
You know, but then they get exposed. Then you get exposed to fucking creeps. Because if you're a normal person in your everyday life, you don't get exposed to that many fucking creeps. But these
Yeah.
kids get exposed to the whole planet. The whole planet's full of a lot of fucking weirdos, man. So that damages them. Just I can't not imagine what kind of life that is. Losing so much of your privacy. But the interesting thing too also is that people also do that shit to themselves. The rise of like those like lifestyle bloggers or people who just fucking make a video every day with their whole fucking family in that video. They're all like their kids and their wife, like, and those videos get millions of views. And it's like, man, you're exposing yourself and your family to a lot.
Yeah.
People who are fucking like influencers or people who are fucking celebrities on social media, TikTok, Instagram, and shit like that. People do that shit to themselves, man. Sometimes
That's
I'd
true.
rather, a lot of the time, not even for profit, because it would surprise you how many people you would go on TikTok or Instagram and have like 1 million followers and make no money. You know, You'll be surprised. The number for that is actually higher than people would imagine. A lot of people are not making money for being fucking Instagram famous. They're not making money at all.
Yeah.
But they're sacrificing their privacy for fucking clicks. It's weird, man. Like I agree. I know that Kanye is a controversial figure, but he is somebody who has been, you know, just requesting endlessly to these people, Twitter heads, TikTok heads, all these folks, to make it so that these fucking social media pages don't have that interaction where you like someone's shit and it goes, this person liked that shit. And this is how many people liked it. People make that such a big part of their fucking personality or self esteem. Because that's dangerous. And I know that Kanye has changed perspectives ever since he had kids. And he's like, oh, fuck, my kids are on social media because my fucking wife is a fucking bloodsucker, and she needs my kids to be part of their brand.
Yeah.
But it's too late for that guy. But I guess my point is that it's there's a lot of weird in the world, and And a lot of the time, I feel bad for those fucking kids, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Freaks come out at night, bro.
they do.
All right, folks, we're back. We took a quick masturbation break. You know what I was thinking the other day? I had this thought the other day. I thought of this like a while ago, and it popped back into my head the other day. How like it'd be hilarious if because we obviously normalize like, hey, I gotta go like piss or I gotta go like
Right.
shit, but wouldn't it be funny? And those are
Yeah.
like, gross like bodily things, but we normalize
Yeah.
it. It's just like, oh, I have to go to the bathroom, and it's like, well,
Yes,
you're only
everybody
doing one
poops.
of two
Isn't that a
things in
Dr.
there.
Seuss thing?
It's like, oh, you're only doing one of two things in there. You're either
Yeah.
pushing shit out of your ass or
Or
piss
you're
out of your
pushing piss out of your
keyhole.
dick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought I was like, what if we just normalized like, hey boss, I gotta go jack off real quick. Or like, hey teacher, I
gotta
gotta
go
go
number 3.
but then I thought like middle school classrooms would just be completely
3 bump
empty
show.
all the time. Like
Yeah.
like there would just be like a line out the door like wrapped around the school.
Yeah. That's pretty fun.
I cracked myself up with that one. It's like wrapping around the
there's like
school.
Game Grumps story where there's like Game Grumps like story where I think one of them says that they had a friend that would do that. They would just tell them exactly when they were leaving the room to do. It's pretty funny. To be that bad.
Oh, that's great. That's hilarious. Yeah, that'd be hilarious. I knew a girl in my old office who like was having an affair with her supervisor, and she would tell her supervisor that she had to go hit the bathroom to masturbate.
Really? Oh, because she was like what with him or something?
Yeah.
That's funny. That's pretty funny.
Anyway, no, just had to we just had to pee. That's all. Yeah. So you had a question for me about Better Call Saul.
This is the question that I have. I feel like I would have been, if I would have tried, I would have been able to find the answer to this on my own. But I figured I wanted to ask you about it. Why do you think? What's your opinion on why Jimmy decided to work at a Cinnabon in the mall after everything happened?
Well, I know that I mean in universe, or because I know that like the reason they actually had him working in the Cinnabon was because in Breaking Bad he says to Walt like, best case scenario, 3 months from now I'll be managing a Cinnabon in Omaha. And then the writers were like, in Better Call Saul, they just as a joke were like, oh, let's have him actually managing a Cinnabon in Omaha. Is that what you're asking? Or you're asking like
no. Because I'm asking because like I figured there was something like that because I think I knew about that, but I think I woke up where I was like at work and I was like, why is that? Because I was like, if I was somebody who was the lawyer who was representing the American version of like Pablo Escobar or something like that, if that was me, if that had been me, right, I would want to be working some night shift shit, some third like shift shit where I just see a couple of dudes and I'm working like on a warehouse, and nobody knows who the fuck I am. Like,
right, yeah.
but he's working at a mall, at a Cinnabon. Like he's working where everybody goes. Everybody fucking body goes to the mall at some point.
Yeah, there's
And not
mall
only that,
cops right there.
exactly. There's mall cops, there's cameras everywhere, and everybody fucking goes to the mall. And most people that go to the mall at some point smell Cinnabon and consider going there.
It's true.
I was just like, it was in my head. I was like, why the fuck? Like, I only imagined. Like, my thought of it was like, maybe he wanted to get caught. Maybe he was just like, fuck it. Like, what do you
Yeah.
think? Like, where are you at with that?
That's an interesting take. I mean, I don't know. Like, I would say I'd be really surprised if that was actually the intentions of the creators. Because
Mm.
again, it was like it was a throwback joke. They which it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Like in retrospect, where it's like
Right. So
he's doing exactly what he joked about to
right.
Walt.
That's why in my head I was like, what would actually be like a character motivation? Like in my head I was like, if I pressed, fucking the actor, what's his name? The guy who plays Jimmy.
Bob Odenkirk.
Odenkirk. If I pressured Odenkirk and I was like, could you please rationalize that for me? Or if I talked to fucking Vince Gilligan and I was like, could you rationalize that? Like, past the fucking joke that he referenced it. Like, could you rationalize the character that you created / the character that you played, actor? It's like, rationalize that decision.
Yeah.
If you were to put yourself in the shoes of those folks and you looked past the fucking pre-established joke element of it, why do you think a character like that would do that?
Yeah. So I'm Vince Gilligan then.
Mhm. Yeah.
Well, we
High
didn't.
compliment.
Yeah. Well. Well, we only. That was actually our wonderful assistant writer's idea. Gordon
That's exactly what that guy would
Smith.
say.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I really can't, dude. I can't rationalize it. Because you're right. I never even thought of that. And I don't think I've ever heard anyone bring that up. That's a really good
Right.
point, dude.
And
I'm
I want to
surprised
talk to
no
you
one's
about it
brought
because
that up.
I know that you're bigger of a nerd for that show than I am.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk about it.
Calling me a fucking nerd? No, I am a nerd. I'm a massive nerd.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a fucking dweeb, bro. But yeah, no, you're right. I mean, he by any stretch of the imagination, like he by all means he should have been working a night shift in a warehouse, like or as a janitor, like where he's just in the background, like something where he's not interacting with people. Because you're right, he was asking to be recognized by somebody. And I don't know. I mean, it's like, did he want to get caught? I don't think so. It doesn't seem like it because he was really fucking paranoid when he, eventually did get recognized in that one season. And to be honest with you, man, if you look at those flash forwards at the beginning of each season, they really don't start going anywhere until season 4. Because like the season 1 flash forward, if I remember correctly, is just him working in the Cinnabon, and then he goes home and he puts on old tapes of the Better Call Saul commercials. So it's just a little setup thing of like, this is this guy's future, and now we're going back to the past, Samurai Jack. And and then season 2, all that in that flash forward, all that happens is he gets locked in that dumpster room. So there's really nowhere they went with that. And I think the writers said we had no idea really where this was going. I believe, don't quote me on that, but and then even in season 3, where like at the end of it he has the panic attack and he passes out or whatever, he faints or whatever. It's like, again, I don't know if they exactly knew where they were going at that point. Maybe they did, but it didn't seem like it. It seemed like they were like, oh, we got to make something happen with these flash forwards besides him just mixing cinnamon dough, cinnamon roll dough. So yeah, I can't justify it, man. You're absolutely right. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, but that's But again, with me trying to make it make sense, the only thought that I had in my head, I was like, if I was this man, and I knew that I had this woman who was the love of my life, and that I knew that I was living this farcical life, in which the only way to ever reconcile myself with that woman would be that I would have to get turned into the police.
Yeah.
I'll be like, I'm just fucking gonna work at Cinnamon.
Yeah.
And see and live it up to the God. Leave it up to luck. If luck has it that I get caught, I get caught. And if I never get caught while working at a public ass place at the mall, then I never get caught.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that's me kind of putting myself in that character's shoes, obviously with hindsight. Because like you're saying, who the fuck knows if they even had planned where things went ultimately. But in hindsight, I feel like that's the way that I would kind of approach that and be like, this is just him taking a gamble and seeing like, fuck it. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. It wasn't meant to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only thing I could think of in universe that makes sense. Because again, like one thing I thought of but quickly shut down was like, there's the idea that it's like, well, he loves interacting with people and selling. And it's
Mhm.
like, but he was totally shut down at that point. That was like the whole point of those flash forwards is this guy now is a recluse, and it's made it way more sad because it was like, this was a colorful, charismatic guy, and now he's just this quiet, you know, um, Cinnabon manager. You know what else too? Now that I'm thinking about it, and these are the nitpicks. I love that show, but it's fun to
Mhm.
sometimes just do the like little nitpicks and like
Right.
one thing that I'm thinking of now is that I didn't really think of before. The whole idea of the cab driver recognizing him in season 4. It's like, okay, think about it. It's like, first of all, he looks nothing like he did. He
No.
has
No.
glasses,
And that was many years
mustache.
later. Yeah.
Yeah, like, he looks nothing like he did as Saul Goodman. I mean, that was the whole point. He was like had to change his appearance. On top of that, you're in a dark cab at night. It's like, really, this cab driver recognized the lawyer from commercials? Like, I don't know about that, man. Because I know he was on bus benches and everything, but there's some lawyers similar to that around here, where
Right.
if they changed their getup, I would not fucking recognize them, especially in the middle of the night. But
Right. Right.
anyway, little nitpicks. I love Better Call Saul, man. Fuck,
Yeah. And so do I, as you know.
so good.
And with Better Call Saul, Better Call Saul is a show that I believe that the heights of that show matched Breaking Bad, and I actually like how the show ended more than Breaking Bad.
Yeah, I think the final season of Saul is better than the final season of Breaking
I
Bad.
agree. Yeah, I agree.
It's very just in the true sense of the word, it's epic. It felt very epic,
Yeah.
very bombastic, very like Shakespearean tragedy. So did Breaking Bad, but Better Call Saul, I think, had a lot more payoff in its final season because they were dealing with a lot more storylines and characters,
Mhm.
and it was really satisfying in that point and shoot episode for all of them to converge in one single night. It was like,
Right.
how did they do this? How
And I
have
remember.
Howard Hamlin and Gus and Lalo and Kim and Saul all become
Yeah.
and Mike all become part of the same scene at the same night?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
what
Yeah. Yeah.
happened, man?
Yeah. And I remember it was really an enjoyable part 'cause when Jake and I first started this podcast, Better Call Saul was on air,
Yeah.
and we watched the first season, and we did a podcast every week, and every week we talked about the episode of the previous week, which was it was great doing that. And obviously we have that footage. Maybe we'll release those episodes at some point. Maybe we'll just release a compilation of all that shit.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll just release it as exclusives if we ever actually do anything regarding like Patreon or anything like that. Um, but that was a really enjoyable thing that we did with the show when it was coming out, and it was great. It was a fucking fun ass time.
Yeah.
And I think none of those episodes ever came out. If maybe just the last one. Um, but yeah, that was an incredible show. I need to. Rather, I should not rewatch that show. I should watch Hannibal.
You should, man. You should.
Yeah.
Hannibal, and you should watch The Boys too. The Boys is fucking amazing.
People hype up the show. People hype up rather the boys.
Yeah, no, it's for good reason. The Boys is amazing. I'm ready for that next season to come out, man. So good. Um, did you hear before I forget, I wanted to bring this up. Did you hear that they're making like a Spike Jones style Barney movie?
You would have to elaborate. Like you mean like where the wild things are?
Exactly.
I
Exactly like
see.
that. They're
Who's making that?
I don't
Because
remember.
it's all about who's making it. Like if Spike Jones is making it, then I'll be like, I'll be there. I'll be at the movie theater. I'll watch anything Spike Jones makes. Anything. Man hasn't made a movie in 10 years.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
He's only made like a few movies too, right? Oh, you know
Spike.
who
He only still made like five movies, I think.
Yeah. Okay, you know who's I think is he acting in it? Daniel Kaluuya. He's the guy from Get Out, the main character.
Yes, that's right.
Now, including okay, with Greta Gerwig and Margot Robbie's Barbie gearing up for box office domination this month, the movie is being eyed as a launching pad for Mattel Films. The studio has dozens more films in the pipeline.
So
based on
this is
its
also
toys.
so this is also one of those Mattel fucking
I
movies.
guess I didn't know Barney was part of Mattel.
Go Mattel. If they're just if all they want to do is take a bunch of risks and see what sticks.
Yeah. See, this is the thing though. Like we all kind of talk about the whole like reboot, remake, and sequel thing, but here's the thing. I think back in the 2010s when we really first started doing the shitty remakes, and it was like the remakes where we were doing remakes where it was like a scene for scene remake. You know, it was like Nightmare on Elm Street, and it's like a scene for scene remake. It's the same shit happens, the same characters with the same names. But now we're doing reboots where it's like we're doing this property, but we're doing something different, and
Mm-hmm.
that's okay because it's like sure it might be an established property, but who fucking cares if it's like some toy line or something? Hey, if it's a good movie, it's a good movie. And again, like I love the idea of using these IPs as vehicles to tell interesting stories. I'm not gonna lie, dude. At the very least, that when I heard that they're making some sort of where the wild things are type Barney movie, I'm like, that's freaking really interesting.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, it says Mattel Films executive Kevin McKean told the New Yorker that the Barney movie is surrealistic and in the vein of films directed by Charlie Kaufman and Spike Jonze.
Holy fuck.
I mean,
Barney's a fucking kid's character.
yeah, it's crazy,
Like,
man.
where the Wild Things are, by that point, it was just like an old book, and it's like, oh, let's just bring this back up, But
Right.
Barney's like, everybody remembers that dumbass fucking dinosaur. Like, that is literally a kid's thing.
Yeah, Barney was
Like,
my shit when I was a kid,
Barney
dude.
was a baby's thing.
Oh
Barney was like
yeah.
a thing for 4 years old, like 4-year-old
Oh
kids.
yeah.
I'm surprised
I
they're
have
taking
good
that
memories.
out with that. I guess they're just assuming that most of the people that remember Barney are just older, so you're like, oh, this is make it for them, I
Yeah.
guess.
They're doing that a lot with stuff now. So they did that with Samurai Jack, right? It went off the air, got canceled, and then they brought it back for the final season. And they were like, well, the people who grew up on Samurai Jack are adults now, so let's make it R-rated. And they did, and it was awesome. Like it was a great
Yeah,
season. That was a great season of television, man. The final season of
yeah,
Samurai Jack.
yeah. I have to see that.
Yeah, you should watch it. It's really good. I mean, it's like he obviously took some Gennady Tartarovsky or however you say his name. He definitely took some influence from like Kurosawa or am I saying that right? Kurosawa.
Hmm.
But yeah, it says we're leaning into the millennial angst of the property rather than fine tuning this for kids. It's really a play for adults. Not that it's R-rated, but it'll focus on some of the trials and tribulations of being 30-something growing up with Barney, just the level of disenchantment within the generation. Dude, fucking awesome, man. I'm here for it, man.
I'm here for it too, dude. I'm down, man. I'm down, man.
And
I'm
you know what's
down.
interesting? Because I will say the Where the Wild Things movie, Where the Wild Things Are movies is kind of creepy. I mean, can we agree on that a little bit? It's a creepy
Yes, I
movie.
agree. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. I like that movie, but it is a creepy movie.
I do too. I think that's why I like it because there's a creepiness about it. And it's weird because I remember, and I think as a kid, I remember as a kid having this weird nightmare about Barney. Um, like he didn't eat me or anything, but like I remember in the nightmare when I was a kid. First of all, when I was a kid, dude, my family and we got back from Disney World, and my family bought me this like little stuffed gorilla. And like the stuffed
Hmm.
gorilla, it had like it had like mangy
Yeah.
fur that stuck out, and then it had this really angry expression on its face. So like it creeped me out, man. And I remember like sometimes I would fall asleep and it would be sitting on my dresser like looking at me while I slept, and I had to tell my
Yeah.
parents like please put that away.
That's creepy,
But I
man.
but I remember the reason I'm saying that is I remember as a kid, and I'm talking like 3 years old. I have no idea how I have memories that go back this far, but I do somehow.
Yeah.
Like weird dream-like memories, but they're there.
I have a few of those. I have
Yeah.
a few of those. I remember when my mom stopped giving me I remember when my mom started actually bottle feeding me. I remember that,
Really?
dude. I do. I remember that
Holy
clearly.
shit, man.
And that must have been such a dramatic experience for me.
Wow. Here I am thinking that I'm like so advanced that I remember that you remember when you were being bottle fed.
I
You
think
remember
I
when you
think
were weaned off the
I
breast
remember that.
milk,
Yeah, dude,
bro.
I remember that
Holy
so
shit.
perfectly. But I think there's a handful. I think people have like select memories of those kind of ages.
Yeah.
Impactful things.
Yeah, but what I remember exactly what I remember was it's like so I went to I went to sleep and then in the dream I woke up in my bed, right? And my light was on and the gorilla stuffed animal was sitting like across the bed from me, but it looked like more alive, so it was creepy. And then I went to the window in the dream and outside it's pouring down rain. And it's like the lighting was like late eve was like early evening where it had this like dark bluish hue outside and it's
Mhm.
pouring down rain and in the street is just Barney like dancing with a bunch of little kids and the dream was just so creepy. Like I still remember it vividly. It's so weird. So from that dream and then when I saw this article, it just they sort of like matched up where I was like, yeah, I'm here for this. Like I could see this
Yeah.
working, you know. But
Yeah.
anyway, I couldn't not bring that up another week. I had to get that out there.
The Barney dream.
Well, no, the Barney article, but yeah, the dream was
Yeah.
always going to come up.
Yeah.
But
I'm
anyway,
excited. Barney was like a big part of my childhood,
yeah, same here.
specifically because my sister, shouts out to her because she listens to this podcast. She would always watch it. My brother can remember. Also, shouts out to my brother. Um, but yeah,
Shouts
if they
out.
make this movie and it's halfway decent, I'll check it out. If they make this movie and it comes out and it's like a 20% Rotten Tomatoes, I'll never check it out. Never watch.
No, I'm still checking that out. Dude, I have to see this thing if this comes out. I got to see that thing.
Yeah.
It's so bizarre. You just got it. I got to see it.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Mister, what do you say that you and I move into our weekly recaps that we didn't do last week?
Yeah,
Unless you have something pressing.
no, I think that's it. Other than the fact that I just wanted to shout out, there's rumors, in the words of Ice Cube, there's rumors in the Twittersphere that Earl Sweatshirt and The Alchemist are
Yes,
dropping an
I saw that.
album
I saw that. I'm excited.
tomorrow.
I
It
am
might be
excited.
coming out
I
tomorrow.
saw that. People have been hyping the fuck out of that. People have been saying this is going to be one of the greatest albums of the decade.
Dude, about
Dude.
time those two collabed on an album.
Suffice it to say, man, I am incredibly excited because I think The Alchemist, obviously, what he's been able to do with Freddie, what he's been able to do with fucking, I mean, you name it, like the work what he's been able to do
Damogenesis,
with Genesis, what he's been able to
Currency.
do
Yeah.
with fucking Currency, exactly, like the shit that this guy has been doing, um, incredible. The work he's been putting out with those guys, incredible. It's on a streak, and the fact that he could add, I would say, a much needed level of, let's say, a little bit more pop appeal or like less underground experimentation weirdness, off time key rapping, flow off fucking beat shit to Earl. I feel like if we can put Earl back on, like, okay, let's fucking get a amazing beat,
Yeah.
gorgeous beat. Let's get that, and then you just fucking rap over it.
Yep.
If they can do that, it just has to be great. I'm
Yep.
beyond excited.
Oh, I am too. Yeah, I mean, dude, Alchemist, Harry Fraud, and Madlib, that's like the triad of alternative hip hop. Like they're the goats right now, I think, of alternative hip hop, which I like the trap stuff. I like all hip hop, but alternative hip hop is definitely what I gravitate toward. Again, as reflected by a lot of my top rappers: Chief Keef, MF Doom, Kid Cudi, right? Like alternative hip hop, man. I love it.
There's a new Cudi album soon in September.
Yes, I have my calendar, dude. September's gonna be lit. We have our buddy Gage Welch. Shout out to Gage Welch.
I know. Shout out to Gage Welch. I saw the announcement for him. That him
Yeah.
and Aiden. Shout out to those guys. Shout out to Gage. Shout out to Aiden. I know that they're putting out a new record.
Yeah. Let me find it because I took a screenshot because I wanted to shout it out on the album, the exact date, so we can give those guys their promotion, any way we can help them. September 1st, our friend from film school, Gage Welch, and our other friend from film school, Aiden Milroy, Gage Welch, I assume we'll be rapping again, and then Aiden Milroy, I believe, will be production, which Aiden Milroy makes. Aiden makes some great tracks.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
But it's titled 2014, and that's going to come out on September 1st, man. So yeah, shout out to our buddies there. But September's gonna be stacked, man, because Kid Cudi's coming out with a new album, and then one of my favorite metal bands, Polaris, is also releasing an album in September. So my calendar is stacked, and I think there's a few other releases that I'm missing. I just can't think of right now, but yeah. But yeah,
I wanted to make a bad joke, which I'm not gonna make. Not regarding this, or regarding the month of September. So I'll leave it alone. Or maybe just tell you after the fact, after the show.
Bet. All right. You want to go first on the recap?
Sure. So this is, I guess, our recap section. Jotting down some notes on my phone. So it's been a little while since we did the recap, and I have seen quite a few things, but I'll try to not be too long-winded with them. I'm going to start with the music, as I do, because that's really what I do most of. To recap, like I guess from the past few weeks, obviously I've listened to all of the Game's discography, to Genesis Owosu, to Ghostface Killer's 2 albums, Supreme Clientele and Bulletproof Wallets, to the All Things Must Pass George Harrison album, to Giles Curry by Giles Curry, to Godspeed You, Black Emperor, the Lift Your Skinny Fits to like Antennas to Heaven album. I recommend all those artists and all those albums. And where I was at before is that I was listening to Gorillaz. So remember, I listened to the self-titled album.
Yeah, I still gotta circle back to them.
Yeah, I listened to Demon Days, and I recommend all of these Gorillaz albums. I recommend Gorillaz, I recommend Demon Days, I recommend Plastic Beach, which I think is their best album. And then I listened to Song Machine, Season 1, Strange Times. And I don't recommend that album. I didn't like Song Machine. People liked that album. People thought it was like a comeback album for them. Like Fantano gave it like an 8. I listened to it and I did not love it. I thought it was okay. Like I would give it like a 5 or a 6. I don't recommend it. I did like the song The Valley of the Pagans, which is song number 2. I liked Pac-Man with Schoolboy Q, and I like The Pink Phantom and Aries, which are songs 6 and 7. But other than that, I don't have much else to really shout out in that album. I thought it was all right. I listened to a jazz album by Grachan Moncur. It's a 64 album, avant-garde jazz. The album is called Some Other Stuff. I listened to the remastered edition. It has 4 songs, it's 40 minutes. And if you're into avant-garde jazz, if you're into jazz that sounds like it could be like the soundtrack to some cartoon, like some like off-kilter cartoon, then listen to it. Every song's cool. I like the song Gnostic, the very first song, and I also like the third song called The Twins. But obviously, it's just This is 4 songs, and each one of them is like 10 minutes long.
What's her name again?
But again, it's called Grachan Moncur. This guy right here, if you can see it, the name.
Oh, okay, yeah, got it. Thank you. Just type it
in. So Grachan Moncur, if you look him up on Apple Music, he only has 1 album, and it's just that album, Some Other Stuff. Again, I thought it was pretty good. I'd give it a 7 or an 8. Avant-garde jazz from the 60s, pretty great. And then finally, the other album that I've listened to, I listened to this album actually today, over the past 2 days rather. And it's an album by a band called Great Grandpa. That's the name of the band. It's called Great Grandpa, silly name, yes. But they have an album that came out in 2019. And Great Grandpa, they're a rock band led by a female singer who has very kind of like she has vocals that are reminiscent of like a country singer or maybe like Americana singer. So her vocals are very fascinating. She has a very good voice. But this is a rock band. And they have this mixture of like rock and maybe a little bit more of like I would say like classic rock, modern rock, and a mixture of like early 2000s rock that feels like a little bit punkish, but with great vocals. But they have an album from 2019 called Four of Arrows, and the picture of the album, it's like this person in this forest that it's like levitating or like what do you call that? Like astral projecting
Yeah.
or like leaving their dead body or something. I can show you like the picture through here.
Oh, that's dope, dude.
Yeah, it's a great album cover. I think I found this band because of that cover. Like I think I saw the cover and I was like, I've got to listen to this.
Yeah.
And it took me till today, because obviously I've gone through the G's to listen to it. Really solid album, like not great, but just really solid. Specifically, the album is kind of lopsided because the very first half of the album is better than the other half. Um, the first five songs of the album, from song number one, Dark Green Water, to song two, Digger, to song three, English Garden, and to song four, Mono no Aware, which is like a Japanese saying, and to song number five, Bloom. All those five songs, I really recommend them. I think they're great songs. And then the album has a song number six that is called Endling. And it almost feels like maybe the album really should have ended there, because after that, the quality of the album takes a big dip after that. So song seven onwards, I'm not a big fan of. I did like the song number nine called Human Condition. And song number 10, Split Up the Kids. But I think it's a lopsided album, better than bad, but I would give it like a seven. But pretty good. I want to shout those guys out. They haven't put an album out in 4 years. Um, and I feel like people deserve to listen to that. That's pretty good. Other than that, that's it for me, music wise. And then I've seen some movies because I saw Barbie, which is basically the some movies is that I saw Barbie. And I'll speak with that about that movie in brief. Not gonna go too much into detail about that. Um, I saw the movie. I have to say that I'm gonna echo what everybody else has said that's in the film. Ryan Gosling is great. He was great in the movie. If you see any behind the scenes about that movie, he just talks about how he improvised a lot and how he brought a lot to that project. And he really did. He was amazing. Like he was great. Like it really goes to like so much so that if for some reason anybody gets nominated for this movie for an Oscar or something, it should be him. Nobody else. Everybody else just did fine. Everybody else just did as much as they were required to do, and I didn't feel like they did anything else more than that. Like Margot Robbie wasn't like great or anything like that. She was fine. Um, so that's a point in the film. Other than that, I'm gonna say that the movie was enjoyable. It was fun to watch. It was. It obviously makes you ask some questions about like, society and shit like that, but not any like grand questions. It's a very basic movie. Like this is what I have to say. I feel like Barbie is the equivalent of like Starbucks. It's like a really basic thing. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's great. In some ways, it felt somewhat maybe mean spirited, and in some ways, it felt like the movie was more divisive than it was inclusive. Like it felt like the movie was really divisive, um,
Interesting.
in a negative way. And I feel like if somebody doesn't want to see that movie, that's fine. Obviously, it's like made over $1 billion, so most people have seen that movie. I don't think it's necessarily worth watching. It doesn't really do much of anything. And the highlights of the movie really are Ryan Gosling, and I feel like if you look up just the highlights of the movie with him, you'll get what you should from the film. Um, that's my take. Like, I haven't rated it on Letterboxd. I've stayed away from doing that. But if I rated it on Letterboxd, I would give it like a 5 or a 6. Again, I don't want to be mean about the movie, but I just thought that it was like okay. It's definitely, without a doubt, the worst Greta Gerwig movie. And I'm a big fan of Greta Gerwig, so I think she's great. But this is the worst movie she's made.
Gotcha. All right,
Yeah,
cool.
but that being said, that's it for me for my roundup.
I gotcha. What about Lady Bird? I mean, Lady Bird was good, right? It was good.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, this is her worst
Oh,
movie.
this is her worst. Oh, wait, yeah. What you said you were a big fan of? Why did I,
Yeah.
why did I like? I had a brain like fog there.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know. Okay, whatever. Um, fucking up. Anyway, she did
We're
No
drinking.
Strings
We're drinking,
Attached,
folks.
or was she just in
We're
that?
drinking. I think she was just in that.
Oh yeah, okay. Anyway, okay. That it?
Yeah, yeah. This is our version of Barbenheimer. I talked about Barbie for 2 minutes.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you, Edward. My recap
Mhm.
is starting off with movies. Let me migrate to my letterboxd as usual. So movie wise, only seen a couple actually since last week. Um, there may have been some that I didn't talk about on the previous episode though. Oh man, yeah. So I got to talk about well, just to get this out of the way, for the first time I saw Friday, the movie Friday from 1995 with Ice Cube.
Oh yeah, yeah. What
Uh,
did you think
yeah,
about that?
I thought it was fun, man. I mean,
Yeah, it's a fun little movie.
I just watched it like late one night a couple weeks ago. Yeah, it's fun. I like those stoner comedies, man. The characters just down and out. It was funny.
Mhm.
I didn't think the story was very well structured. There was a
Yeah,
lot.
Ice Cube wrote that movie, his first movie, I think.
Yeah, he's a
Yeah.
good writer in the sense of I think like characters and stuff, but I just didn't
Mhm.
think the plot had very much momentum. There was a lot of again like dude, I really think to quote one of our old professors, like it really did need more complications like in the plot. There needed to be more stuff that they were doing. A
To
lot of
quote
the
one of our
movie
famous professors.
Yeah, a lot of the movie was just them hanging around, kind of worrying about what was going to happen to them, but not really knowing what to do. And it's like there could be some of that, but I think there needed to be more hijinks in the movie. It's funny. I mean, there's some funny shit in Friday. It's
Mhm.
fun. For the first time, I saw Clerks 3.
Really? There's a third one of those?
Yeah. So it came out
Huh.
last year. Now Clerks, for those who don't know, Clerks may be my favorite movie of all time. Like my number one. It's one of my favorite movies. It may be my number one favorite movie of all time. It
Mhm.
made a huge impact on me. It's a very kind of it. At first when you watch it, you think you're just putting on some. Again, you probably would think when you're putting on Clerks that you're about to watch a movie like Friday. Um,
Mhm.
like you're actually going to be watching a very kind of existential film in sort of a buddy comedy skin. I really think that Clerks is a brilliant film, especially for someone as young as Kevin Smith was at the time when he made that.
Mhm.
It's a great film, man, and it's super thought provoking. It changed my life when I first watched it because I was 22, the same age as the main character when I watched it, and it's a movie about the quarter life crisis about
Mhm.
being at that age where people are going to college or people are getting out of college, people are getting jobs that they deem important or some and just feeling like everybody's doing something that's important but I'm in this rut. And it's very just thought provoking in that way. I would encourage anybody who's at that near that quarter stage of their life to watch Clerks. um Clerks 3, I'm really conflicted on that movie because it was really good and it's really emotional. I actually got choked up toward the end because it was a very emotional film, and I think Kevin
Mhm.
Smith was because Kevin Smith, he had a heart attack a few years ago. He talked about it on Joe Rogan's show and he was like near death. And Clerks 3, man, I think he put a lot of his own experience into that movie. The problem that I had, so again, just to get some of the more positives in there, like it again, it was very emotional. It was very well written, very well directed. The character work was really good. Like the first Clerks film, it made a big impact on me. And I will say that in the same way, the first Clerks movie is for people who are having a quarter life crisis. Clerks 3 is for people who are having a midlife crisis. It's about the midlife crisis.
Really interesting.
It's kind
I
of
guess we should
perfect.
watch it in our 30s.
Yeah, it's almost sort of like the Before series in that way, where each
Yeah.
movie is a
Incredible
different
movies.
stage of life.
Yeah.
And what I have to say about Clerks 3 that my problem with doing, it's sort of a symptom, I think, of the whole thing of us just the way we keep awakening these old franchises and bringing the characters back for one last hurrah and one more hurrah and a third hurrah. It's like when we keep bringing these characters back, we have to keep tormenting them with problems. And at a certain point in Clerks 3, it got to a point where it just hit me. I'm like, you're really just tormenting, particularly Dante, who's the main character of the first one. I'm like, you're really tormenting this character with having these bad things have happened to him between 2 and 3. Like he's
Right.
lost people that he loves, and it's just like, it just felt cruel. And you just feel at a certain point like, can these characters just have a happy ending? Can we just let sleeping bears lie? Sleeping dogs,
Right.
sleeping dogs
Right.
lie, where it's just like, can we just put these characters to rest and allow them to possibly have some peace, But we keep doing it. They did it with Rocky, where it's like Rocky lost Adrian and now he's down and out, and Luke and
Adrian!
yeah, and in Star Wars, Luke Skywalker, you thought he got his happy ending, but no, his life's shit now and he's a recluse, and the Terminator movies
You should
did it
get
with
out
Sarah
your
Connor, and
you should get out your dark sunglasses because you're becoming a critical drinker.
yeah, right. you know, what I've got to say about these shit movies lately is that Hollywood's got no qualms with torturing these characters. Yeah, I love that guy.
I have like topic with him, but we'll keep that one for next week.
Yeah, I love Critical Drinker. He's awesome. Um, I take a lot of recommendations from him too. So if you're listening, Critical Drinker, on the off chance, you're awesome, man. But yeah, so that was my problem with Clerks 3. It's like we're just tormenting these characters, man. We're just torturing them. Because you don't want to, because I get why. It's because you don't want to have a third Clerks movie where the stakes feel low, but in order for them to feel high and to give a character this character wound, quote unquote, in writers' terms, character wound, you have to put them through the ringer. But it's like, when is enough enough, And that
Right.
was the problem I had, where it's just like, I don't know, man. Maybe it would have been better if just it ended at Clerks 1, and I got to hope that Dante had a better future, that better things
Right.
laid ahead, There was a light at the end of his tunnel.
Kevin Smith said no. He said no,
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah, and that's my issue. So I felt conflicted with Clerks 3. Overall, I thought it was a really good movie. I gave it a 7, though. Because again, man, I'm not gonna beat that dead horse anymore. But and then moving on, I watched Sisu, the sort of
Life Aquatic.
No, Sisu from 2022, from last year. It's the movie where the guy is in Nazi Germany, or no, he's in Finland. He's in Finland, and it's like a John Wick style action film, sort of, where the guy's fighting Nazis. I don't know. Did you see these trailers in theaters or anything, or marketing for this movie? So what I have to say about Sisu is, like, I think with this movie, it started off really fantastic, where actually the first 2/3 of the movie, it was like, wow, it felt like an old samurai film or cowboy film, and it was taking the material seriously. And then in and it just felt cinematic. It felt like an Akira Kurosawa film. Thank you. It really did, earnestly. It had like little comic moments of comic relief, like any film. Even the most serious of films have comic relief. But they were taking the material seriously. And then in the third act, it just shits the bed. It jumps the shark, and it has the climax is this ridiculous fight on an airplane. And it just had me thinking, like, typical American Hollywood films. Like, we don't know how to make serious films anymore, It's like, we really don't know how to make serious films anymore in America, I don't think. I think American audiences just don't, I think producers just don't know how to market them. I think American audiences don't come out to see them, so they have to just make something that's like, feels like Bullet Train or Deadpool or John Wick. It's like, so and it's tough when a movie is so good in its first 2 acts and then so bad in its third act. You're like, what do I even rate this film? It's like what? It's like all over the place. It's like I wish it
Yeah.
was just kind of shitty all the way through almost, because you had me dangling on a hook, like, oh, this is good, and now it's bad. Um, so those are my thoughts on Sisu. It would have been so good if they actually had the balls to just have a serious film here, but we just Hollywood can't make serious movies anymore. They can't. They can't.
Yeah.
It's all indie films or indie adjacent with Hollywood funding, whatever.
Yeah.
The other day I rewatched School of Rock with Jack Black. That movie rocks from beginning to end,
School of
man.
Rock rocks.
Yeah. No
Yeah. I've never seen that movie a few times.
Yeah. I don't think I've rewatched a movie in my life more than School of Rock. I think that's probably the movie I've seen rewatched the most in my entire life. I could quote that whole movie probably. But yeah, the movie's wonderful. I love all the rock trivia in it, and it's hilarious. Richard Linklater, fantastic director.
One of the greats.
Yeah, he's one of the greats. I mean, shit, and School of Rock is no exception.
He's been on the decline a little bit because he's not made a good movie. I think since like everybody wants some, but regardless of that, the man has an impeccable
Yeah,
stretch of films, and he truly is one of the greats.
yeah, I agree. And then moving on, I've been watching a couple TV shows, 2 TV shows right now. I'm watching Stranger Things. I'm on season 3. Stranger Things is great. Like, it's got great characters. It's very, it's binge worthy for sure, and you could see why it's so popular. It's not popular because of the 80s nostalgia, right? It's not so popular because of it has some cool sci-fi ideas and stuff, which honestly, I don't even think the sci-fi stuff in Stranger Things is even that great. Like, it's pretty bland. It's pretty generic, I will say. I'm really looking forward to getting to season 4 though, because they bring in like a Hellraiser Pinhead type villain in season 4.
So I think I've seen that character.
Yeah, so that was what really actually made me interested in the show. I was like, oh, because in the first 3 seasons they don't really even have a proper villain. The antagonists are all just kind of like these alien / the thing creatures, and there's really no like sort of human antagonist. And then they changed it up in season 4 with like a Pinhead type antagonist, Freddy Krueger type character. But Stranger Things is so popular because of the great characters. Like, that's why we watch things. That's why people come back to media, is because of characters, humans. That's your foundation, and Stranger Things does a great job with them. I will say that Stranger Things is very predictable, incredibly predictable.
As it probably goes.
Yeah. Because that's the thing, when your franchise hinges so heavily on relies so heavily on old stuff, on 80s stuff, it's all very predictable. I know exactly who's going to be hooking up, who's going to be having a romance. I know which characters are going to have conflicts. I know who's going to turn out to be a jerk and who's going to turn out to be good, and I can predict every single plot beat for beat. You can predict that show. But honestly, it's a testament. I still watch it. It's a testament to how well it's executed. So I'm looking forward to finishing that show out, and then they have a 5th and final season coming. I'm pretty sure pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
What's not predictable is the other show I'm watching,
Which is
Dark on Netflix.
Huh.
This is a German television series. Have you heard of this show?
I have.
It is phenomenal. And this brings me back to the idea of how in America we just don't, again, it's like we don't know how to do well for the most part. TV is a little better about it. But again, it's like it bears some similarities, especially in the first couple episodes, to how the plot of Stranger Things gets going. But Dark deals a lot with it's very hard sci-fi. Deals a lot with time travel. That's the main sort of sci-fi element that they're dealing with, but it's very hard sci-fi. So think of the time travel of Time Crimes of Primer, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is quite incredible. I think writing this show must have been a nightmare because of all the because you're dealing with the show has people time traveling to different periods of time because there's like this weird sort of like gateway through time in the woods and shit. It is nuts, and it takes the material completely seriously. It's grounded in reality, and the characters are fantastic. And I have some gripes with the show. You know, it has its flaws, but it is a phenomenal show. And it only has 3 seasons, and then it ended. So I'm on season 2.
Okay, you're season 2. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. But and there's some existential terror in this show. I mean, it is a mind fuck.
What would you rate it so far?
I would give it a 8 or a 9. I mean, it's phenomenal. It probably a 9. It's great. So yeah, check out Dark on Netflix, folks. And then moving on to books. I started a couple weeks ago. I started reading a horror short story collection called Wounds: 6 Stories from the Border of Hell, and that is by the author's name escapes me, but I'm gonna punch it in here while I'm talking.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a story. It's by or a collection of stories by Nathan Ballingrud. Hope I'm saying that right. Ballingrud. But Wounds.
It's called what again? Wounds.
Wounds. 6 Stories from the Border of Hell, and it's a mixed bag. I didn't finish the last couple stories because the stories are really intriguing, but he does a thing where it's common with especially contemporary horror writers who I think may be emulating older Stephen King short stories where they sort of end it and it ends abruptly and it almost feels like they just couldn't think of anything else to write. And
it doesn't feel purposeful.
Yeah, it's like, what the fuck? But I gotta say, the first story was my favorite. It's called The Atlas of Hell. And it's basically about this guy he's like a book collector and he works for the mob. And his job for the mob is he collects like occult artifacts and grimoires and stuff for them, for them to use for black magic purposes. And the mob boss ropes the protagonist in for another job because the mob boss, they had someone rip them off like an occult artifact from them that turned out to be an atlas of hell, like a map of hell and a gateway at the same time. And just as like a middle finger, the guy who ripped off the mob sent the mob boss a little piece of like thigh bone, and it's the mob boss's son's thigh bone that he got from hell. And it's fucking weird. And then at the end of the story, when the protagonist returns from his task, the bone has like grown into like this weird sort of bone tree, and it has like a mouth on it that's like screaming. It's fucking weird, dude. It's freaky as hell. But yeah, it's a mixed bag. The stories are all right. And then the novel I'm reading right now is a novel. It's a horror novel called Ask for Andrea. And I am really enjoying this novel. It's by Noelle Illy. Female authors, female horror authors are killing it right now. Like some of my favorite horror novels of the past, that I've read recently. The Graping of Ava DeSantis, written by a woman, phenomenal horror novel. Brother by Anya Alborn, phenomenal horror novel. Like, dude, female horror authors are freaking killing the game. This book's no exception. I'm like maybe a quarter of the way through so far. But Ask for Andrea is basically about these 3 different women over the course of a few different years who were killed by the same charming Ted Bundy type serial killer. and now they're ghosts. So it's a little bit like the movie Ghost in a way. Now they're ghosts, and they're all sort of, their stories are separate at this point in the story, but I'm sure they're going to converge as the story moves forward. But they're all sort of like, one of them's they're all sort of figuring out as ghosts how to influence reality. And they're ultimately sort
That's
of,
pretty funny. How to alter politics?
yeah, right.
How to influence politics and commit voter fraud?
Yeah. No. Basically, they're trying to, like, a couple of them are trying to nudge their parents, their grieving parents, in the right direction of like, hey, I died, like I'm not missing, you know. And then one of them is trying to figure out how to make the serial killer's life hell and also try to stop him from murdering more women. So it's really intriguing. So I'm really enjoying this novel. So that's what I've been reading. And then on the music side of things, just to run through this quickly, and I'll skip a couple of these that I don't even feel like. I mean, I listened to, well, I won't even skip them. I just won't really talk about some of them. But Tyler, the Creator, I re-listened to Bastard and Goblin, both top to bottom.
How do you feel about that?
I think Goblin aged a little better. They've both aged not the greatest, especially on the production side of things. But I think Goblin just has a few more bangers than Bastard. Bastard's got some great songs as well, but that was enjoyable to re-listen to those. Definitely, brought me back to my teenage years. I went on like a stoner rap binge a couple weeks ago, where I listened to a lot of. What did you say?
No, go ahead.
I listened to a lot of Smoke DZA, really underrated stoner, like alternative rapper, who similar to Currency, kind of, but I listened to his George Cush album top to bottom, and that was a good time. I love that, like, just chill stoner rap. I love that stuff, man. I like it. I listened to a little bit of JPEG Mafia and Danny Brown's album Scaring the Hoes.
Oh yeah, that was great. My brother actually liked that album too.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Yeah.
I gotta listen to it a little bit more. I didn't do a proper top to bottom listen, but I dove a little bit into it. And then this week I've been on a metal binge. I started listening to a lot of heavy metal again. Like, my favorite musical genres, the genres that I listen to the most, for those listening, hip hop, metal, and then I like jazz music as well. And then rock and roll I like, but metal and hip hop are probably the genres that I listen to the most. But when it comes to metal, I really like the subgenres of metal that I really like are metalcore, doom metal, and progressive metal. I'm very picky with metal. I don't like growl metal at all. I could do a little bit of screamo, but I mainly like clean vocals, maybe some grungy vocals. Like, I really like Mastodon, and they have, I believe, two singers in Mastodon, one with very clean vocals and one who has clean but grungy vocals. So think like Alice in Chains or Kurt Cobain, maybe. But I listened to Breaking Benjamin's Ember album from 2018. Now, Breaking Benjamin is not generally classified as metal. Some people call them post-grunge. I really don't know where they get that from. I think you'd have a hard time lumping Breaking Benjamin in with Nickelback and and Bush and Foo Fighters. I really don't think Bush. I don't think they belong in that camp. They're hard rock, but Ember is essentially teeters on it's definitely an alternative metal album. It teeters on metalcore, with less screamo than most metalcore. But Ember is a fire album, man. That's like probably my favorite project by Breaking Benjamin, which I didn't realize this, but I have this in common with a lot of metal fans, that Breaking Benjamin was my gateway to metal.
Really?
Like, they were the gateway drug for metal.
I've always found their name so funny, Breaking Benjamin.
Yeah, it is silly.
Silly name.
The best tracks off that album are Blood, Feed the Wolf, The Dark of You, Red Cold River, Torn in Two, and my favorite track off that album is Tourniquet. Just beautiful vocals, beautiful grungy vocals, just amazing song. And then I discovered a couple really solid metal artists. Leprous, which I sent you that song by them.
That's right.
Leprous sounds
That's
like
right.
Radiohead if they were a metal band. I
Yeah.
actually had
I
to
had
I had to do research. I thought that might have been the singer
argument
from
with you.
Radiohead.
Yeah, I do take note with you for that because I was like, I don't know if that's entirely there. Like, I think there's some similarities, but like for me, as somebody who's listened to like every Radiohead album, I was
Yeah.
like, I would be able to tell the difference. But and then I listened to the songs. I listened to like the first few songs from that album, and then I would put Radiohead songs back to back, like in between those songs. And I was like, Jake's right that there is like a similarity here, but at the very, I don't know if it is just for me, for my ear, I was able to tell the distinction. I don't think they're that similar, but they are similar for sure.
Yeah, it's mainly
Yeah.
the voice, not the musical
Yeah.
composition at all, but the
No, but the
voice of the
voice,
singer.
the guy's, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't listen to a lot of Radiohead, so I'm not averse to it. I should dig into their discography, but
Yeah, you know I'm big. You know I'm a big Radiohead guy.
yeah, I need to hop on their stuff. I discovered a metal band called Tesseract. Again, everything I love about metal, Tesseract. Very similar to Catatonia, which is one of my favorite metal bands. Just, again, beautiful, just atmospheric, right? Really heavy, but just atmospheric, clean, and atmospheric guitars and drums, but then clean vocals, right? Tesseract, great metal band. And then
How do you spell that?
um
Is it two S's?
yeah, Tesseract, Tesseract.
Okay, I wrote ARACT.
Yeah.
Tesseract. Okay.
And then a really great metalcore band that I think everyone should check out is a band called Sleep Token. They're a very genre bending metalcore band where they incorporate elements of rap and indie pop into their metal. So there were some songs, there was a lot of their songs that I had to sift through that weren't heavy enough for me. Again, metal it's tough. It's hard for me to find that fine line for me.
Yeah.
Metal listening for me is like, it's a pain in the ass because I really am so picky. But when it hits, it hits. And Sleep Token, their song "The Summoning" is one of the best metal songs I've ever heard in my entire life. If you get nothing else from this recap, jot down "The Summoning" by Sleep Token.
The Summoning.
And give that a listen. And yeah, that's it. That's it for my recap. I didn't think I would get through that ever.
that was like 3 weeks of worth of recap.
Yeah, I was trying to be, selective with what I talked about.
Well, sir, as you take a swig of your water, I take a swig of my second beer through this podcast. What do you say we get into the movie of the week?
I say yes.
We'll go right ahead. This is Jake's pick.
So this week, Edward and I, a couple weeks ago, we saw Death Grips a couple weekends ago, and then also before we headed over to Charlotte for the Death Grips show, we caught an afternoon showing, an early afternoon showing, because it's a 3-hour movie, of the brand new Christopher Nolan film, Oppenheimer.
That's right.
It's the movie of the year, bro.
It is.
It's the movie of the year, man.
I mean, I feel like I'm gonna go ahead. I feel like I'm gonna go ahead and just get ahead of ourselves and really just say it. Like,
yeah,
it really is a movie of the year. Like, if there is a movie worth going out of your home to watch, it's not Barbie.
Yeah.
Unless you just want to have a nice old time, I suppose. But if you're like a film fan, if you're a film buff, if you're somebody, or even, not even that, if you're just somebody who likes art and storytelling, this is the movie. This is the movie of the year so far, or at least that we've seen.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, Oppenheimer, phenomenal film, a modern classic in every respect. Christopher Nolan did it again. Excuse me. He knocked it out of the park. Um, it's hard to even know where to begin. So just beginning, I guess, on story.
Mhm.
Story wise, I mean, it's flawless.
Yeah.
It is a beautiful story in the sense that, oddly enough, kind of like I touched on this with why I loved Mr. Robot so much, and I loved it about Oppenheimer was that Oppenheimer, it's like it's a movie about society and mankind and tackles
Mhm.
all sorts of those issues, but it also boils it down into the mind of one character, and it's at the same time a societal commentary and a character study all at once, and it does
Yeah.
it flawlessly, interchangeably, one and the same, indivisibly, right?
Right.
Um, just phenomenal performances from everybody across the board. I feel like any A-list actor out there is probably like, why didn't I try to find a way to make it into
Into
Oppenheimer?
this movie,
Like,
yeah.
the,
Everybody was in this movie.
everyone was in this movie. Every scene is like another A-list or B-list actor. I mean, Josh Peck from Drake and Josh
Josh
is in this
fucking Peck.
movie.
Yeah. Josh
Like,
Peck.
when we say everybody, it's everybody
It's
except for
everybody.
Drake Bell is in this
Everybody
movie.
except for Drake Bell. That's right. Everybody except for Drake Bell. They're like, not Drake. We want Josh.
Yeah.
Drake Bell's a creep.
They might as well have just had, during the courtroom scenes, just had a bunch of Hollywood A-list actors in the
Love Drake
stands, like in the as the witnesses in court and the
Bell.
jury. Um, but but yeah, I mean the story, the story's phenomenal. Um, the character work done in this movie was excellent.
Yeah.
I'm
Mhm.
trying to find like specifics to talk about besides just saying it was awesome. Um,
Man, I like if I could interrupt you
yeah,
and,
yeah, go ahead.
you think a little bit. Um, well, just to talk about story, like Jake said, it was just I mean, it it just centers on this character, this man whom was just he was brilliant. Like he was brilliant, and everybody knew that about him. He was just a brilliant man, who was very complex, in terms of his personal life, his politics, and he had an effect on people because he was not somebody. At least how the character is portrayed, he doesn't portray him necessarily as somebody that goes out of his way to be, let's say, charismatic. He's not even necessarily charismatic, but he's just somebody that like draws people towards him. Um, and to go from story to character, the way that Killian Murphy portrayed that character was incredible.
Mhm.
I mean, the man carried that movie on his shoulders, like, and whenever he took a break and he tapped his partner to if it was like a tag team match, if it was like a three-way, three guys versus three guys, if Killian Murphy was, let's say, John Cena, he had Orton and he had Triple H on his corner, and Triple H was Downey Jr. and Orton was like what's her name,
Emily
Emily
Blunt.
Blunt.
Yeah.
Yeah. So whenever it wasn't him, it was them, and they were incredible. But with Cillian Murphy, the stuff that he did, just the physical acting that he did in that film, and just the incredible amount of emotion that that character conveyed, just simply through his facial expressions
Yeah.
and through just um, very minor eye movements or very minor like gestures, just the stuff that that character conveyed. He was like an ocean inside of a water drop. Like he was incredible. Like
Mhm.
the acting like that I had only seen before from like Casey Affleck in um that film that I always give a 6 out of 10 to. What's the name of that movie that he's in?
Manchester by the Sea.
Manchester by the Sea. Yeah, like a performance like that. Like he gives a performance like that in this film that is just so full. Or a performance like what's his name? Jake Gyllenhaal in Prisoners
Mm.
has a very similar performance where it's
Yeah.
like it's like little ticks, little things. And then Downey just transforms himself. I mean, we're talking about Iron Man. We're talking about the um, of A-list actors, he's part of the crew,
Mhm.
part of the Pitts, part of the DiCaprios, part of the Will Smiths. Like he's up there, and he completely transformed himself into that character. He disappeared. Like obviously, you look at him and you go like, "Oh shit, that's Robert Downey Jr." But the performance has no resemblance of anything he's ever done before. Um, and then Emily Blunt, you know, just had this performance in this film
Mm.
that just shined in one scene in the film, just completely shined. But also, she just had this performance in this movie that I thought was so like uncanny because it carried so much of the traits that I've observed in my life anyway, of really truly like strong women. Like she's not like one of those like oh strong female character. Like she's not fucking Daisy Ridley in Star Wars. Like she was a very complex character,
Mm.
and she was strong in the sense that she had a lot of character to herself. She had a lot of principle, and she was basically this backbone for this man who himself was very faulty of crumbling, you know. And she was just there, solid as a rock, you know. And when he needed her, she was fucking incredible. You know, that performance that she had in that scene is enough to get that woman an Oscar. Like everybody just shined. Matt Damon was fucking incredible in this movie too. I loved Matt Damon.
Yeah.
I don't put Matt Damon because of Matt Damon. You know, it's fucking Matt Damon. He was memed in that movie like U.S. America Team Force or whatever, where they're puppets.
Oh yeah. Team America, World
Team
Police.
America. Yeah, exactly. But Matt Damon's great, man. Because if there's anything that can be said about Matt Damon is that that guy is just so charismatic. He has such a screen presence. And when you need a character, like when you need an actor to play a character to portray both like rigidity and almost like unlikability, but also be like charismatic and likable despite those things, that's the guy.
Yeah.
And he had him play the officer that was in charge of overseeing these things, that was pressing down on everybody. And Matt Damon came across as both a man that was just doing his job and also as a man that you couldn't help but like, despite that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
What can you say about this movie? I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah. No, I mean, you hit the nail on the head with as far as performances. As far as like theme and philosophical conflict and all of that stuff,
mm,
like I think this movie really effectively. First of all, I think after watching this film, I'm convinced that Robert Oppenheimer is was is the most important man, for better or worse, who ever lived. I mean,
I
there's
agree.
nobody that had the impact, the long lasting impact on the planet, the way he did. I would challenge anyone to think of a more someone with more impact than Robert Oppenheimer, because
Oppenheimer. Yeah.
or J. Robert Oppenheimer, um,
Yeah. You know
because
what the J stands for?
what?
Julius.
Oh, really? That's
Yeah.
funny. He's like wanted to not be called Julius, I guess.
Yes, I know, just coming over.
Yeah,
Come here, Robert. Yeah.
they call him Oppie in this
Uppy.
movie.
Uppy. Yeah.
Um, because
Oh, bees.
never but before that man lived, we did not. Before that man lived and did the work that he did, we did not have the ability to, as a species, to destroy ourselves and the planet that we live on. And now we
Right.
do. We have the ability right now to level entire countries,
Right.
to level cities, countries, to blow up the world.
I mean, dude, that's why we have that fucking doomsday clock thing. That it's like, "Ooh, the clock's really close,"
Yeah.
because it's just like telling us how close we are to fucking destroying ourselves through nuclear war.
Yeah.
Insane. The
Yeah.
world that we live in is insane.
It's nuts. And the whole thing, the thing in this movie is, I mean, for me, the way I see it, the big philosophical conflict of this movie was this idea of, um, and I think they even mentioned it, but Prometheus, it's that idea
Hmm.
of Prometheus, right? Giving man fire, right? Giving man
Fire.
the
Yeah.
ability to destroy themselves. And it's like, it's that
Right.
whole that philosophical conflict of like, well, we have the ability to develop these things and we've made these discoveries. We've discovered them in theory, right? And now, do we put them into practice, right? And it's the same
Right.
thing that's going on right now with AI. And the answer always seems to be a resounding yes. Whether it's governments, corporations, whatever it is. It's like, yeah, well,
Mhm.
we figured it out on the drawing board in the classroom. Let's put it into practice, right?
Right.
And that was the whole thing. It was like, well, hey, we're on this roller coaster. There's no getting off. We're building this thing, right?
Right.
And it's
Right.
like
Somebody's got to do it.
It's like Oppenheimer he was like, there's no stopping this. I mean, this is my career. I'm being asked to do this by the military. They're telling me that, hey, we need
Right.
to do this before Russia can do it, right?
Right. And go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, and I mean, it's that, and then it's like, but once it's out there, um, then you're seeing this character realizing, like, holy shit, what have I done?
Right.
And that was like that was an aspect of the that was a piece of the true heart of the film, where it was
Right.
just like, what have I done? Especially the shit, the scenes that took place after Hiroshima and Nagasaki. It
Mhm.
was hard to watch, man. Just
Mhm.
imagine, man, just your invention
Mhm.
destroyed entire cities,
Mhm.
uh, million, hundreds of thousands of people, or
Mhm.
however many it was. I can't remember.
And it's fascinating with this film, um, because it, I'm gonna say this, and it's I don't have critiques of this film. Um, the critiques of this films are obvious, and I agree with them because the one critique that it's like the most obvious one is just the sex scenes with Florence Pugh. And I agree with people with that it just kind of felt unnecessary. That shit. You
Yeah.
could take that thing out of the movie. You could take those things out of the movie, and it wouldn't make a difference. So they felt unnecessary and gratuitous. And you and I have talked about that a little bit.
And the main
But
thing, just to clarify, the main one is the mock imaginary sex scene that happens during
mhm,
the interrogation, because we
mhm.
agreed kind of like that it was good when they showed him naked in front of
Right,
everybody,
right. That was good. Yeah,
and then
that played well.
Florence Pugh looking at Emily Blunt's character in the eye, that was creepy. But then the whole thing of like those shots of her fucking him in front of the entire,
Mhm,
deposition meeting or whatever
mhm.
was, yeah, they just came across weird,
Yeah, but
definitely.
that aside, that's really the only
Nitpick
critique I
though.
have with this film.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's the only critique I have with the film. I really don't have anything else to like tackle this movie yet. Because I actually like people have critiqued like the length of the film. People have said that it's like, oh, after you have the explosion, the movie just kind of drools along for another hour. I didn't feel
No.
that way.
No,
Because I
because you
felt
have to deal with the consequences of this
exactly,
thing. It's like
exactly.
that's the
Like
midpoint of the movie. We got what we wanted, and
exactly.
now we're dealing with new problems that we did not
Mhm.
previously account for.
Yeah, and I thought those deposition scenes were great. Obviously, all that happened after the fact. I thought the scenes with Downey Jr. Like on trying to see if he's gonna be like promoted into a government position. I thought those were scenes were great.
Yeah.
I thought how the movie ended with Doctor Mr. Robot coming out,
Yeah, Rami
and
Malek. Yeah.
speaking on behalf of Oppenheimer. I thought all those scenes were so moving,
Yeah.
and that all of that just worked so well. I was so engaged with this film. I did not feel like the movie dragged on. Maybe a little bit. Who cares, man?
Yeah.
Like, I did not. The length of this film did not bother me.
No.
I watched most of my favorite movies, with the exception of the Before trilogy, are like 2 plus, almost 3 hour long movies. I don't really care about length. I really just care about feeling engaged.
Yeah.
This movie had me engaged from the beginning to the end,
Yeah.
and I whenever Nolan delivered like a scene that was supposed to feel cathartic, I felt that catharsis.
Yeah.
And even in scenes that were not emotional or called for emotion, I was emotional. This movie had me like very I was on a fucking roller coaster with this film. And I can't say anything greater about a film than that. All the films that I rate highly is because those films impact me emotionally and make me think about things a different way. And this movie did that absolutely. And that's why, and I said this to you, that I was like, to me, this is the best Nolan film because this is the only Nolan film that's done that for me. I've been really entertained by his films before, and I hold a lot of his films in really high regard. But this is the only film of his that I was like, oh, geez, this is a lot. This is really like asking a lot of me, and and making me feel willing to be like, okay, I'll give you this. I'll compromise. It was incredible. Something that stuck with me was that Oppenheimer was like, oh, there's a chance that this could end the world, the
Yeah.
detonation of this. And I was like, why? And then I found out why. I looked up the science of how these things work. I'm not a scientist. I'm not
And
a
just for
nuclear
context,
physicist.
you're
Yeah.
Edward's talking about the scene where they first detonate just one bomb.
Mhm. Yeah, there's a brief exchange that had been foreshadowed because there had been a mention about previous to that. But there's an exchange between Oppenheimer and Matt Damon's character. I think his name's Leslie, in which Oppenheimer tells Leslie like, "Oh, there's a chance that when we detonate this nuclear explosion, that it will just continue to detonate and the world will cease to exist."
Yeah.
And Matt Damon's like, "What?" And Oppenheimer's like, "Oh, it's a really tiny little chance. It's not." It's not gonna happen, but it could happen. It's like a little cheeky scene, like right before the explosion happens. But I looked it up, and it was because this is an atomic bomb that interacts with just like atoms and like these like invisible fucking particles, and it has to do. I'm literally just explaining this to people who are curious because I was curious, and I don't know if you were curious enough to look it up, but I'm saying it for the sake of everybody. Um, but it has to do with the fact that when these like nuclear particles involving like gamma rays and like but not necessarily gamma rays, but specifically like what do you call this? Um fuck, what's the word for that? Radiation.
Yeah.
Like when these things happen, you have this nucleus, right? And that nucleus is stroken by the radiation, and the radiation breaks it in half, right? So when the radiation breaks this like atomic particle in half, that atomic particle then divides in two, but then releases more of those like radioactive atoms that keep shooting in a direction. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you have this radioactive particle that shoots towards the atom and breaks it. And then the atom divides and it spits out two more radioactive particles. And this is shit that's in the air. Like this is shit that's all around us all the time, these
Yeah.
atoms and these fucking like radioactive things.
Yeah, it's just this
And
giant fucking domino effect.
exactly, that's what it is. Because then it releases two more, so now you have three. And then those three tackle another one. Each one of them penetrates a different atomic particle, and then it splits again into threes, and it just happens. That's what creates that explosion because it's just this constant like destroying of an atom that explodes into three new things that are going to destroy more things that are going to explode into three new things.
It's just
So
so
when you
dangerous, man.
exactly, dude, when you fucking take that into account and you go like, okay, this is what we're trying to create, a thing that's going to be destroying atomic particles in the air and making them explode into new ones that are going to destroy new ones, it makes sense that you would be like, is that shit even going to end? Like, is that shit going to stop? Or
Yeah.
are we going to destroy the whole fucking world? Thankfully, at some point, the frequency of them reduces enough to where it doesn't destroy the fucking atoms.
Yeah.
It ends. But it's like in the movie, it's like, well, there's no guarantee of that. It could just be supercharged, and it could just go on forever.
Yeah.
Meaning that there could be, because we had those two nuclear detonations, Russia could nuke somewhere, and then that one nuke of that one place could really actually signify the end of the world, because you never know how one of those detonations is going to go.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah, it's
Insane.
unbelievable. And I mean, maybe I don't know the science behind it or how a hydrogen bomb works, but I don't know if
Yeah.
maybe that's why they switched to hydrogen bombs or whatever. Which I know those explosions are bigger, but maybe they thought that'd be safer or more
Yeah,
controlled.
I think that's what it is. Because even though those explosions are bigger, I think the probability of that becoming an endless chain of we're going to destroy the universe or the planet rather is less probable.
Yeah, it's
I think that's what
nuts.
it is with those.
That's
It's
nuts.
insane.
Yeah, it's
Well,
crazy.
this is insane, dude. I mean,
And that
again,
scene was tense, man.
yeah,
And it was a testament, like I said, to the fact that hey, like this is history. We know how this goes. We know they didn't blow up the
right,
world, but the characters don't know that. And so
right,
when you create compelling characters so that you feel a true sense of empathy with, it doesn't matter that you know how it ends.
right,
You're feeling the fear of the
dude.
characters, and
But that's
that's
the thing.
storytelling.
but that's the thing that it's insane, right? Because I mean, the same weekend that you and I were watching Death Grips and that you and I had seen Oppenheimer,
Yeah.
you remember that I was like listening to Trump talk to fucking Musk, and they were having this like silly interaction.
Yeah, that's right.
During that exact same interaction, Trump was saying that he was not afraid of like Putin or like fucking Kim Jong Un or whatever, because he was saying that the button that he can press to destroy those countries is bigger than the one they have.
Yeah.
So he was like joking around saying that, but I was like, dude, like when you think about the consequences, it's like that's like the last thing anybody should be joking about, because we have to understand that we're still existing in a world where like that's a very high possibility. It's not even like a small possibility. It's a very high possibility. So we're dealing with fucking egos and fucking humans,
Yeah. Well, and I feel like
Yeah.
the president in this film, which I forget which president it was, played by Gary Oldman,
Gary Oldman. Yeah.
was sort of
Truman.
a stand-in for Trump, where it's like he was proud. He was like,
Yeah.
"Hey, that blood on your hands, put it all on me, man. I'm proud to have destroyed those Japanese cities."
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, and you think an egomaniac like Trump cares if a
Yeah.
if he nuked an entire
Dude.
country full of
And,
people? People don't
and
fucking
let
care.
me no, that would just fucking fuel his ego. People would just fucking adore him even more for that, which is insane. Just the lack of humanity that we
Yeah,
have.
the fact that we
But
know that that's how that would go, that people would adore him for
But
that.
but that's the thing. I have this for you. The line by Harry S. Truman, "Don't you ever bring that crybaby back here again,"
Yeah, that's right.
is historically factual.
Holy
Truman did
shit.
actually say that to his staff after meeting Oppenheimer, and he also mockingly handed him a handkerchief, as portrayed in the film. Reportedly, he added, "Blood on his hands? Damn it, I have twice as much on mine."
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's different personalities, and unfortunately for Oppenheimer, he seemed to have been he wasn't a perfect man, but he seemed to have been
Mm.
someone, at least the way he's portrayed in this film, which I'm assuming was accurate, someone who, like any normal human being, non-egomaniac, had a soul and felt
Right.
remorseful and realized like, what have I
Right.
done, and
Yeah, and he should have, because that's the thing with him, because it was like you could have just said no.
yeah.
Obviously, that would have meant that maybe the Russians would have nuked us, or maybe
That's where the
like,
conflict came in.
and
It
that's what
was
the
like,
conflict is,
well,
and
which is the worst?
exactly,
They're both shit
because it's gonna
decisions,
because that's the thing, is gonna happen anyway, and obviously it happened to be that he did become the most important person in history
Yeah.
by saying, okay, I'm gonna take this on, and I'm going to finish this, and I'm gonna do it. But it's like you said, it's just like he just got tied up on that after evaluating whether he should do it or not. He was like, fuck, I should need to do this, because what's the alternative? But then it's like, well, after the deed is done, it's like the realization of being like, oh my god, like what have I fucking done? Because then it's just on my hands. Whether Truman detonates it or not, I created this thing, and the fact that it exists now, it's like irreversible.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and one more thing I'd like to say about the movie, just on a visual level too. Obviously, the directing, it's Nolan. It's very, very well directed.
It's
But just on
masterful
a
for sure.
yeah, it's masterful. But on a more specific level too, they did a lot of good, and that's the only part of the film where I actually wanted more. A lot of really great psychedelic sort of imagery.
Oh yeah,
They made
yeah.
it feel, because it's not an action film; it's just a drama.
Mhm,
It's a
mhm.
historical drama, but they
Yeah.
made it feel super, just very epic and theatrical, with a lot of the psychedelic imagery that was used and the visuals of the explosion, the atomic bomb going off, the nightmare
Mhm,
visuals of people burning and
mhm.
turning into husks of ash. Really incredible stuff there. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
this is cinema, dude. This was cinema.
Yeah, absolutely. This is like that Scorsese meme where he has his hands like that, and it's like absolute cinema.
Yeah.
This was great. I'd love to watch this again soon. Just see how I feel the second time around. I really doubt that I would feel lesser about this film.
Yeah.
Maybe I could just see more, appreciate it more, or maybe see the elements that maybe didn't tackle as much as I would have liked it to. But yeah, for me, I don't know what you would rate this. I think I saw your letterbox rating. I rated the same thing, 9 out of 10. Like
Yeah,
it
9 out
really
of
is
10.
closer to a 10 than an 8.
Yeah.
But for the time being, it is a 9 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, it's a 9 out of 10 for me as well. Just
Yeah.
phenomenal film. Yeah, that's all
Now
I've got on that.
before we go and before I tell us the film of the next podcast, I want to play a little game with you. We'll do this one
Yeah,
quick.
go for it.
Um, this is gonna be a tell apart the review from Barbie movie reviews on Letterboxd to Oppenheimer reviews on Letterboxd.
Okay.
So we opened this podcast with fucking what's the name, The Blindside, and we're gonna end with this quiz. Um, let me see. So this is the first review, all right? So just say, is it Barbie or is it Nolan? I am become death, destroyer of ears.
Oh, that's Oppenheimer because this movie was loud as fuck with the bombs.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. The second review. I thank God and all that is holy for letting me exist in the same time on earth as Ryan Gosling.
That's Barbie, of course.
Okay. So those are the easy ones. At
Those are
some point it's
easy.
gonna get a little bit a little bit trickier where you could apply it to both movies. I cannot believe this is a real movie and not something just in my dreams.
I would say probably Barbie.
Final answer?
Yeah.
Barbie, that's right.
Yeah.
Now the next one. I am become happy, the enjoyer of films. Gets trickier because you don't know if that person just watched Oppenheimer and then saw Barbie and put that review on the Barbie movie.
Yeah, I would say Oppenheimer.
That is correct.
All right.
Oppenheimer. Terrifying stuff.
I'm psychic, man. No, go ahead.
This is the next one. Terrifying stuff. Did people really used to wear hats like that?
Yeah, Oppenheimer. They're talking about the fedoras.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes. Next one. Boy, oh boy, this movie might just break Letterboxd with how divisive reviews shall be.
Barbie. You know,
that's right. Barbie. Look at you, dude.
Over Oppenheimer.
Yeah, you're acing this.
Yeah, and
okay,
I'm justifying my answers too.
Next one. It's so funny that this is a big summer blockbuster.
That's.
Yeah, that's a little trickier one.
They could be talking about either one. It's so funny that this is a big summer blockbuster. Funny. I'm gonna lean toward Barbie.
Final answer?
Yeah.
Oppenheimer.
Okay. You could have gone.
Next one. I know. I bring a sort of existential crisis vibe to the dance party that the other Barbies don't like.
I mean, the obvious answer seems like Barbie, but Oppenheimer, because they just got out of Barbie and went and saw Oppenheimer, and that's why they said that.
The answer is Barbie.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Dude, you're getting in your head, dude. You're letting this get to your head. Next one. Absolutely no one. Me. I will bet any amount of money this is winning Best Picture at the 2024 Oscars.
Probably Barbie, because they said absolutely no one, and no one. Everyone's saying that about Oppenheimer.
Final answer?
Yeah.
Oppenheimer.
Fuck. I was doing
Dude,
so
you're
well.
letting this get to you, man.
I was doing so well, man. How is that absolutely no one? Everybody's saying that. Of course it's going to win.
I know. That's why I picked that
it's a
comment.
nonsensical review.
That's why I picked that review. Next one. Do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life.
Oppenheimer?
Final answer?
Yeah.
That's correct. Oppenheimer.
Yeah, because they're talking about how he's working on the atom bomb. And
yeah. Next one. Never wanted to live in a moving picture so bad.
Barbie,
that's correct.
Yeah.
Now this is the trickiest of trick ones. Okay.
Yeah.
This is the trickiest of trick ones for this one. Willem Dafoe is not in this movie.
Oppenheimer, because you'd expect him to be.
Final answer?
Yeah.
The answer to this one is both Barbie and Oppenheimer. This is a comment that was posted in both by a commenter. It's called Willem Dafoe fan, and I think all he does is go on movies that Poe is not in and say Willem Dafoe is not in this movie.
Shout out Willem Dafoe fan.
Now, all the next reviews are half a star, so 1 out of 10 reviews for these movies. And again, guess which one it is.
Holy shit!
These are all
How do you
1 out
give
of 10.
Oppenheimer half a star? Jesus Christ!
These are all 1 out of 10. So this is it. Loved the sexual tension between Einstein and Oppenheimer.
Well, that's Oppenheimer.
Exactly.
That's awesome. Well, what? Half a star? Holy shit! Do you not like
Yeah.
films? Oh my
Yeah.
god!
Next one. Did not feature Bible, rendering it virtually unwatchable. I cried roughly 3 times through the film, but not for good reasons. I missed my dearest Bible oh so very much.
Bible? What the fuck?
Yeah.
Is that Barbie?
Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
That's correct. It is Barbie. All right, next one. We're almost done. There's a couple more. This one says, this lacks Kenergy. So Ken from Barbie, people are just putting the word Ken on everything, but the review is this lacks Kenergy.
They're saying that about Oppenheimer because they liked Barbie better.
Final answer?
Yeah.
That's correct. That person gave Oppenheimer 1 star, 1 out of 10.
What an
And
idiot.
just said that as a review.
What an
All
asshole.
right, next one. Thank God my friend ate popcorn off the floor during the movie because at least that was entertaining.
Oppenheimer because they found it boring because it was too long and about serious things.
Final answer?
Yeah.
Barbie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, look at that.
All right. Respectable.
Next one. This movie is an achievement in getting white dudes to say this movie is an achievement.
Oppenheimer. Of course.
Oppenheimer.
Of course, yeah.
Next one.
I will say, I am white, and I will say that movie was an achievement. There.
It was. I am not white, and I will say that it was an achievement. Next one.
I am white. I am a fucking bum.
Fucking bum. That's how we open this podcast. That's how we're ending it. Y'all are fucking liars, and you know it. Fucking liars.
Oppenheimer.
Final answer?
Talking about the hype, yeah.
Barbie.
Ah, damn it.
They're getting to you, dude. They always put it more difficult, don't they? Next one. There is not even one shot of Cillian Murphy's ass in this entire movie.
Oppenheimer.
That's correct. Okay, final one, all right? Boring as shit needs fart jokes and more boobies or something.
More boobies. I'm gonna say Oppenheimer because it was boobs. So they said more boobies.
Is that your final answer?
That's my final answer. I'm going for it.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Do you want to call in for a friend?
No. No.
That is correct.
Aced it, man.
All right, dude.
I'm good, man. I'm good. Except for a couple there, but can all be perfect.
You did great, man. You did great. Well, everybody, that's the podcast for this week.
Thank you, everybody. If you're still listening to the end here, we really appreciate you guys. Again, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you're notified when we drop. Edward, what you got for us next week?
For us next week, I want us to watch the 1969 film directed by Robert Downey Sr., which was a humongous inspiration for a lot of filmmakers, including PTA and Louis C.K. of all people. Putney Swope.
Okay, I don't know if I know this one. What's it called?
Yeah, it's called Putney, Putney, and then the next word is Swope, Swope.
Oh, there it is. Okay, awesome. I didn't even know there was a Robert Downey Sr. That's actually Robert Downey Jr.'s dad.
Yeah, the Robert Jr. is a nepo baby. He's a nepotism boy.
Wow, look at me learning new things in film trivia. All right, man. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, everybody. That's it for this episode. Next time on Film Tangents.
All right, thanks, guys. See you next time.
And we are out.